Welcome back, True Seeker. It is Friday, June 21st, 2024. And as we go live, CNN's actually updated their front page. A huge focus here in the U.S. today is what the Supreme Court ruled on in regards to the Second Amendment for people who have a domestic violence charge in their history. Essentially, people who've had a domestic violence charge are very much subject to losing their Second Amendment right as a citizen after today's 8-1 ruling, where Clarence Thomas was the only dissenting vote, meaning he was the only person who said, no, we can't take away, the Second Amendment if somebody has a DV charge. Today is 2 days before his birthday with this Second Amendment ruling, and we're going to get to why it matters that he's turning 76, just how symbolic it is that he's turning 76 in 2 days when he's the only dissenting vote. And it's funny because, as we'll get to, there's founders who explain that if we didn't have the first and second, we would be made into essentially a society of slaves to tyranny. So it's all going to make so much sense. For those of you guys who are veterans, you probably already put the whole thing together. But I was planning on presenting about that this time. I am, but since I put up this that we were going to stream about this, 2 more breaking stories today. A mass shooting at an Arkansas grocery store, and I'm just waiting for the manifesto and how much they hated the government and they were an online conspiracy theorist. Because again, it's just always this way. And you go, why do these people, if they hate the government so much, why do they shoot up schools? I guess schools technically are government, but grocery stores, movie theaters, malls, public places. I guess the way everything's anyway, the point is I'm making that it's always the same story about these mass shooters, and oftentimes they're medicated, sometimes they're not. A lot of times they're former military. Sometimes there's been some former police shooting stories like this, but they're always so number oriented. And again, just like seeing the world through my lens, again, in the early part of the day, I talk to all the sportsaholics. There's people that love to use this knowledge for sports, and we look at the numbers of the day. Today's date numerology, today, the day, Friday, June 21st, 2024. The date numerology today is 8. And the way you get that is you just add up every day in the month together. So it's June 21st, 2024. So that would be 6 for June, the 6th month, 2 for the first digit of 21, 1 for the second digit of 21, 2 for the first digit of the year, 2024, then 0, then 2, then 4. You just add all those numbers up. It equals 17. Numerology is compressing numbers to a single digit. So the next step is 17. 1 plus 7 is 8. That numerology is that. And then there's something special in numerology that if when you're breaking down the number, it ends up equaling 11 or 22. That's considered a master number. Some people say 33 as well. And this shooting in this case is on the 33rd parallel. And again, like we always talk about in Gematria, order, secrecy, police, masonry, federal, they all equal 33. The Masonic city is what Washington, D.C., the federal city, is known as because it's named after the Freemason George Washington. And again, the Masonic HQ for the Scottish Rite there, 33 columns on the outside, each 33 feet tall. For years, as we've looked at these very numerology-based mass shooting stories that get national attention, because again, shootings do happen every day all over the place, but only so often do they make the national news. A lot of times there will be a shooting you hear about in your area, but it was never a national news story. The ones that make the national news, they always just seem to be so perfect. And, in light of the 8 date numerology and just talking 8 in sports, just look at what else CNN has up on the front page right now. What's it say over there? Again, the date numerology is 8. Another top story. At 8 years old, he was more than 6 feet tall. Man, that kid better be careful. He doesn't want to get the Jerry West treatment. But yeah, anyhow, let's look at all this. But what they just updated the front page with, right as about to go live, it was the Supreme Court thing. They just changed it to hundreds die in heat wave during Hajj pilgrimage. That was not the story until just seconds ago. So anyway, we might even end up looking into that. But the Supreme Court thing is where we have to start because this is the most important, you guys. And before we go further with the numbers, Here, let me make sure our sound and everything is good. I'm not doing one of these muted videos. Before I go any further, our audio level's good. Let's make sure the audio is good. I don't see anyone complaining in the chat, so I'm going to assume it's been good. We're good. All right, thank you. Um, oh, by the way, some people will say that the mic is quiet sometimes. I don't know what that's about with some of your guys' computers, but on mine it always sounds fine. So anyway, sorry about that too. I get that complaint a lot that the mic was way too quiet, and I'm thinking I don't know what to do. I got the sound all the way up, and it sounds fine on my end. But anyway, the Supreme Court ruling today. Here, again, before we even go further with the numbers, I just want to share something that happened to me in real life that represents why this exact type of thing today that the government's decided can be super problematic, and they can make it even more purposefully problematic for a lot of people intentionally now that this gateway's open. And I understand where people would say, well, a violent person shouldn't be able to have guns because then they'll kill their whole family. These people are crazy. I get that emotional response, and also in a way, in a logical thought. But here's the problem. And again, in a way, you're having to take my word for it. But just imagine this story. Does this story seem out of the realm of possibility? Because I'm telling you, this is how it was. There was a time in my life where I had a nice little business going and things were really rolling, and my neighbor took notice. And this neighbor, he was older than me. He was old enough to be my own father, and I'd always been real nice to him, but I noticed he was always like taking little like chirps at me. He kind of reminded me of my older uncle, so I didn't necessarily mind it, but just always just like something. I don't know, always like he was trying to like provoke something. I just knew something was up with this dude. But he was older, and since he's older and my neighbor, I gave him the benefit of the doubt. And then he mentioned that he was kind of on a rough patch, and he knew I was doing kind of well. And um, he told me he was in the roofing business, and that's what he'd always said. And anyhow, I gave him a nice little sum of money to help get a roofing job done because he said that's what he was going to do, and I was just going to have him as my neighbor, facilitate the job for the business that he said he was a part of. And instead of that happening and helping him out and giving him an advance because he explained that he was like kind of in a pinch and he really needed some help. Instead, what he did was his next chance when he saw that I was gone from my house because he knew I was busy and I'd be gone for periods of time doing all kinds of work. But anyway, he's my neighbor and he's watching and anyway, he ends up obviously robbing the house, and then he skips town for 2 weeks, and literally when he comes back, he's got a brand new like 30 some $1,000 truck, and he's got moving vehicles coming over and doing work. It was so messed up, and it was just like, and then what I found out is he didn't work for any roofing company at the time. He'd been out of work for a while. So anyway, it was a disaster, you guys, because I got it was my fault for not having way better security for what I had going on. It was a major life lesson, but I was real discreet, and he was the one leak in the ship. Was just that I entrusted my neighbor because he was my neighbor, which is dumb because I know you can't even do this at this day and age. So I know just in a way how negligent that is, but I just didn't think it was going to be like that from a man, 20 years older than me. But anyway, the point was when he came back into town, he came back in his truck, and I just said, his name was Paul. I said, "Hey, Paul, whatever you have not spent, it would be nice if you brought it back." And he like, I forget exactly how he responded now because this is back in like 2014, but just kind of like with a grin and just some little comment. And it was just like, and I left it at that. I didn't threaten him or anything, but that was, I didn't know what else to do. I was just like, so anyway, the next thing I know, it's like the next day or 2 days later, I get a knock at the door, and it's the police delivering me. What do they send you from the court? Because he filed a restraining order, my neighbor, and I didn't do anything besides just tell him, please bring back whatever you haven't already spent. And it was hard because, anyway, when the police came with the thing, I said to him, I was like, wait a minute, he can do that? He can file a restraining order? I said, what did he file it for? He said that he feels threatened by you because you're accusing him of the burglary or something like that. And I thought, oh my God. And it's just so obvious. I'm like, well, I said, well, okay. I said, well, let's just be logical. He was out of work. He had no money. He just came here because he needed help. And so I decided to do him through a roofing project, which I need to get done. And, next thing I know, he's skipping town and now he's back in town with a brand new 30 some $1,000 truck. I mean, he struck it rich while he was on the road. And that's the thing, too. The guy never went anywhere. He'd always been home the whole time he's been my neighbor. So to be out of town for 2 weeks, I was just like, because he felt like he won the lottery. Oh my God, man. Yeah, never let anybody know you have any cash in your house in this day and age. Because that's the thing. He would. I wonder how much he thought was in there and how much he thought he was going to get. He got a lot more than what he thought he was going to get. But anyway, the lesson of the story is, and the reason I'm telling this about in light of today's ruling and what they've done is when he filed the restraining order, I talked to the police for a minute and they said, listen, just go to court and explain the story with exactly like what you're laying out about the truck and how he's been out of work and you helped him and she'll probably understand. And it's highly unlikely they'll uphold this. And I said, oh, okay. So just from talking to them and their body, even though I don't like the authorities, it just seemed like, okay, they must know a little bit about this. So I went into court, explained it just like that, calmly, and just how I wouldn't like for him to have some kind of legal power over him. And I didn't realize how bad it would even be if it went through at the time, but then I learned. But again, she upheld the restraining order that he filed in court based on exactly what I explained in a calmer way for the courtroom about. But so anyway, because of that ruling and because he lives across the street from me, I was also no longer able to legally own a gun in Washington State. And he cleaned out all my gun. He took everything of value in the house and whoever he hit the house with because they like almost moved my house out of my house. But yeah, again, I got screwed over by my neighbor. He took advantage of the legal system, and then I lost my right to own a gun. So I'm just thinking about how many people could end up in a situation where somehow they get a domestic violence charge against them, and maybe they really didn't even do anything. You know what I mean? So, and again, people need to understand we've been living in this society, right, where there's a lot of people who have domestic violence. Sadly, it's a part of our society. And again, if our state school system spent the first 2-3 years spending just more time on focusing on the value you create in society by being a good, honest person that really tries to help and build up others as well as yourself, and you take care of yourself and others in your community, how strong community could get. But we don't learn about anything like that. Like there's no time on focusing on the benefits of cooperation and learning how to work together to solve problems and accomplish projects in faster time. Um, Imagine if the school system was like that. Imagine if instead of like by the end of the semester you got a B C D E F or whatever they've changed it in your district to now a number system because it's more politically correct or whatever, all the things they're doing. If instead it was like, if it was really like kind of like a growth, like you understand it, it's a growth experiment where you're going to learn things, you're going to be critiqued and learn where you can improve. But like every year you got put into, say, like a group, say an average classroom has 30 students now. Imagine it within that classroom, there's like 6 groups, and you're like, listen, you guys might not be the best of friends right now. You might have some weird feelings about each other right now. But the point is, this is kind of how life is. And you have to learn how to work with people, even if they aren't your best friend. And sometimes being best friends at the workplace when you're older or what you're doing isn't the best thing either, because then you're distracting each other. So we're going to kind of learn these things. But anyway, just if people were working as a team to try and like, how they keep records for sports? Why not make school more fun? Why not make it like, listen, this is the assignment. And in the record of this school's 50-year existence, the fastest the team has ever worked together to solve this problem was in 6 weeks and 4 days or something like that. And so everyone's like, wow, we want to work together to be the greatest team ever. Again, everything could be revolutionized a different way. The reason I'm talking about stuff like this is because we got used to this world that we were born into, where you go through this school system and you get this piece of paper and then you choose career or take a break because your parents can afford to have you take a break. or go into college and usually take on debt. This world's been designed this way where we're made to go through these things. It's like everything just needs to be redesigned, and it doesn't have to. It's only going to happen if the tyranny's broken. But anyway, so I'm getting tangential. I'm just reminding you guys, the world does not have to be the way it is. There's so many good ideas out there that are just ignored. I remember being a little kid in elementary school in probably the very start of the 90s. Again, I started kindergarten in 1988, all years. 1988. I was 5 back then, but oh shoot, I lost my train of thought. Oh shoot, I was going to say something about education system coming up. It doesn't matter. Let me get back to the point. Train of thought lost. Okay. The the big thing here today is, again, I put out a really short video on this piece. If you had to do an elevator speech for why people need to learn about this simple ABC 1, 2, 3 code, and literally how this is a Kabbalistic practice, and you really start to think about things, masonry is based in Kabbalah. Again, Albert Pike wrote that in his book Morals and Dogma. He had the only statue in DC of a Confederate soldier because he's such an important Freemason, and it's the Masonic city. But Kabbalah, this whole thing of letters and numbers comes from a Kabbalah. It really logically makes sense how this system was put into place, and it explains why it's being used, and it's constantly being used. That's why I'm able to put out tons of content every day, and if I wanted to cover everything, I could literally be here 24/7, 365, never sleeping, just trying to keep up with everything. But this is a monumental decision today. And again, and now it's somebody who has a domestic violence charge can essentially be undermined of their Second Amendment right. And a lot of these charges could be wrong. Like it's not deserved. My neighbor didn't deserve to have any legal authority over me. I did not threaten his life. I put it about as nicely as a person could put it in that situation, knowing the obvious. I thought maybe as a decent human being, he might actually bring something back. But I guess as a savvy criminal, that'd be a dumb move because then it would be incriminating. Yeah, no, it was so annoying to watch because as time went on, like just they kept ordering more and more like furniture and doing improvements to the house and started right away with a big like they built onto this. I was like, look at this, man. Because he stole what I had worked my ass off for and took a major risk for, dropped out of essentially my career at the time to start a business right at the key moment, which is what you had to do. And, right when it was really blossoming. And, oh, man, it just, it was a life changing thing what happened. But part of it was just, being stupid, trusting a neighbor too much that you already had a bad instinct about. Again, had he been my age, that never would have happened. But since he was older, yeah, yeah. Okay. This thing I have up here about Anheuser-Busch, I'm not even going to get into it right now. I'm just talking. The point I'm making here, by the way, we're not even getting into it. I'm just making the point. If you pay attention, this has been going on since I was in my late teens, early 20s. I really started to dial into things back then and started to really pay attention. Like, wait a minute, how does this country really operate? Because after 9/11 on 2001, again, I was 18 years old when that happened. I just started to see the number rituals, and I started to know something else. And started to notice on Fridays, a lot of times on Fridays, the Federals would be trying to make big moves on Fridays, especially like in the later part of the day. It's like, see, they're playing on just the way humans are, man. People aren't paying attention to the news on Friday night. They're hardly paying attention at all, but especially not on Friday night. Friday night, they got things to do. They got plans. The news is the last thing. But just always doing things on Fridays. Shady stuff is what I mean. Just like, I think if more people had heard about that, and that was the bigger top headline at the beginning of Monday, I think this would be a lot different. But because that's the thing too, that the Friday news, it might make some sub headlines on CNN for Saturday and Sunday if people are even looking past the big pictures they put on the screen. And then by Monday, they got a whole new news cycle lined up. Like nobody even remembers Friday. But yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people in the United States who have a domestic violence charge. Um, I guess in terms of like if there's a fairness to law, I'm sure some of those are fair in a sense. But again, I don't know why we give this thing the government the idea that it can have authority over us and make decisions, because that's what we see from government. It does not make decisions that are sustainable. And again, I think that's an example of the world we live in, and what they've done to it. How much destruction's been done in a short period of time for essentially to create a much more materialistic world, and get people to buy into a big lie. Anyway, let me come back to this and get back to the actual number part. Again, domestic violence, 173rd day of the year, this Supreme Court ruling. And that's the thing. If you've been charged with that, your Second Amendment rights, they might be out the window. People are back drinking their Anheuser-Busch's. They're not tuned into the news. They're getting hyped for the games. They're going out to the concert, the show. Anyway, this 8-1 decision here. Remember, Joe, I want to look more into the data of like how many people this could impact, how many people will lose their gun rights from this. And again, this is the top court making this decision. 8-1. Oh, wow. It's like one day it's the most conservative court ever, and now it's like, oh, only one conservative went against this. Wow. Again, this court just blows with the Jesuit wind. Blow this way, blow that way. And I think for a lot of these young Catholic boys, there's been a lot of that blowing since way before they were wearing the black nightgown. But it's crazy how the Supreme Court's just been so Catholic and Jewish, and those were the things targeted by the Protestant Reformation, which brought about the formation of this nation. It's also symbolic. People don't even see it. Those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. But anyway, 8-1 decision. 81's no slouch of a number, as we talk about all the time. Supreme Court justice, first of all, has that gematria of 81, like this 8-1 decision. Ritual is 81, forwards and backwards, like President Biden and President Trump are 81. Biden supposedly got 81 million votes. Again, he's from Scranton, PA, home of The Office. And again, Scranton's on Interstate 81. But Biden said there'd be a major gun reform in the time of his administration. Maybe he's 81 years old right now, maybe this is it. I mean, I got to see the numbers on how many people that will disarm in the U.S. That could be a lot of people. And what'd be funny is like I don't even realize it right now, and they're like, "Oh, well, did you see when that judge took away or gave him a restraining order? Did you see that she also wrote something about the reason was because he felt threatened, and that counts as who knows? That counts later. I guess that's the way law is too. Later, the judges might add on to this and say, restraining order violations now fit within the criteria. You know what I mean? Oh, now you can't if you ever had that in your lifetime, now you can't have a gun. Because that's the thing. Once they open the box, now it's like, okay, what other past charges get your gun right taken away? Oh, man, people who violate restraining orders. Oh, see, because that was the other part of the story I didn't finish with. That neighbor, he also got me my only day in life in jail. And that's because he robbed the house November 2014. Again, you guys might think I'm bullshitting, but I'm telling you, this is how it was. March 3rd, 2015, about 4 months later. By the way, the restraining order, like that was probably all set in stone by the judge in the middle of December. I'd have to go back and look. But it was probably about that time, somewhere just before the year turned, month or so, maybe a little more than a month after he robbed the place. But March 3rd, I'm out working in the yard, and he's driving by in the truck. By the way, when he bought the brand new truck, he bought the exact same truck I already had. And he always said he liked my truck a lot. That's why it was just like, this is so fucking, everything this guy did is just like total weirdo mode. But no, it was March 3rd. And the thing was, he did know a little bit about my research because he acted like it was interesting. I talked to him about it a bit. But I just remember on March 3rd, I was out weeding in my yard, and he stops and he rolls down his window and he's like, "Hey, Zach." And again, keep in mind, he has a restraining order against me. The judge upheld the restraining order. He goes, "Hey, Zach." And then I looked up and he flips me off. And I'm just like, seriously? You had to do that on March 3rd on 3-3? I back then I was teaching him a lot about 33. So It's hard to say. All of this thing was so weird, but it was 4 days later after that. I didn't do anything that day because I know I'm not supposed to do anything. I have a restraining order. I'm not supposed to say anything to him. 4 days later, I'm out working in the yard again, and he comes out, and he lives right across the street from me. He starts talking to me. He's talking to me from across the street, and I'm ignoring him. But then finally, after just like he kept saying, hey, neighbor. Hey, Zach. Hey, neighbor. Finally, after just like, I don't even know how long he was doing it for before I finally responded. Felt like it was forever. It was probably 30 seconds. But when this is going on, it's like, what in the, like, who is like this? I was annoyed, so I finally responded. I told him to fuck off and go back inside. And then he laughed and he said, "I just recorded that. I gotcha." And I was just like, "Well, please." Then I said, "Call the police department and show them what happened." And I'm pretty sure they're going to tell you to go back inside. Well, I was totally wrong about that because when they came, I told him exactly what happened. I said, "Listen, he was just really, he's been trying to get my attention the last handful of days. He flipped me off the other day for whatever reason, unprovoked while I was outside, and and kind of the same thing today. And today, I just, after forever, I just told him to go. I said I did tell him to F. When I told him that I told him to go, that I talked to him, he was like, "So you talked to him?" And I said, "Well," I said, "I mean," I said, and that's why you have the right to remain silent. And I tell all of you guys that the good thing for that Miranda right, which is, oh my God, it's a whole nother story, the whole Miranda thing. But yeah, you do have the right to remain silent, and that's what I learned. Had I not said anything at all that day, there would have been no way for them to arrest me. But yeah, I didn't think I was going to get arrested. I'd never been arrested before, and I thought with the circumstances explained, they'd be like, "Okay, let's go tell him to leave you alone." But that's not how it was. They just were like, "Oh, you violated the law. Here's the handcuffs, and we're going down to the station." So, but yeah, it's just, I mean, that's why the legal system. I wish we lived in a world with liberty and freedom, and we were allowed to protect and take care of ourselves. I think it would make me live an even better life. I think I'd just be more motivated. I'd probably take even better care of my physical body because I know I got to protect myself all the more. In this world, I'm not even allowed to protect myself. Hardly, hardly. I guess in some circumstances you do have the right, but there's a lot where you just don't, and the law's not going to do anything about it, and the law's not going to protect you. And then when the problem does come, then they might be here to cause you even more problems. It's our legal system. But yeah, that's why this stuff can get so bad, and I won't be surprised if in the future they do amend it, and it is if you had a restraining order, you don't have a Second Amendment too. It's like, oh, look at that, I can't even have a gun legally. And with all the databases, I mean, it's it's already there. It's just when they choose to enforce and really show their muscle if they have to. But you can imagine they start doing this stuff. Okay, imagine how many guys today. Think about it, you guys. Okay, domestic violence. There might be a man who has a domestic violence who's 60 years old now, and maybe this is from 20 years ago, and he's really bettered his life, and he's in a different relationship, and it is messed up that happened in the past. But imagine he's bettered his life, and now all of a sudden, and he has a something in his home to protect his family just in case. Maybe he lives in a neighborhood where that's a really smart idea. Now, uh, because of this thing from 20 years ago, maybe longer, could be a lot longer. But now all of a sudden he can't legally own a weapon. I mean, this isn't supposed to be happening. Yeah, it's just so anyway, making the point. Here's the point we need to transition to. Second Amendment, funny enough, the gematria of Second Amendment, and hold on, let me make sure I haven't made a fool of myself and spelled Second Amendment wrong. Hold on. Let me just double check. Second Amendment. Yeah, I got it spelled correctly. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't like missing an extra M or something, some of these funny English words. No, it's all spelled correctly. Second Amendment. 5976, right? Always talk about these numbers with Black history. RIP OJ Simpson, dead 59 days after the Super Bowl at age 76. Again, the words slave, Negro, Rasta, blues, they're all 59 forward, 76 in reverse. Barack Obama, 76. His Secret Service named Renegade, 59. And notice what the definition of a renegade is, right? Someone who betrays. We had that general betray us. General betray us. Yeah. Oh man, this country is just sound asleep, man. But yeah, Black History Month ends on the 59th day of the year. The feds recognize Black History Month in 76. Gerald Ford has that prediction about the first female president. Kamala's 59 right now. Won the 59th election with Joe Biden, who took office with Obama. Renegade. You know what I mean? All these 59 76s in a million different ways. And again, the OJ thing was ice cold because, again, dead at 76, 59 days after the Super Bowl as a football superstar, USC Heisman winner in 68, that infamous year. But oh my God, I'm saying about, okay, OJ. Again, they announced him dead as the Masters was teeing off. As the Masters was teeing off. And again, in the Bible, Ephesians 6, it's the verses 5 through 9. Slaves, obey your masters. 5 through 9. Slave, 5976. OJ was last seen on TV the day of the Super Bowl wearing a Titleist hat in a golf court, talking about how he can't wait to get over his cancer battle. He's going to be golfing all over the place. They announced him dead as the Masters teed off. And then they even showed footage that day with him with the Titleist hat on. You know, from what was last seen in February. It's just like putting it in your face. And remember, they announced his death on April 11th. He'd reportedly died the day before, but it broke the morning of April 11th as the Masters was teeing off. That day can be written 11/4, and it's the 102nd day of the leap year. And Titleist equals 114 and 102, like the date 11/4, 114, 102nd day of the year. The news breaks. OJ with the Titleist hat on. Another 5976 tribute. Again, Obama's book, A Promised Land, equals 59 and 76 as well. And that book came out on the day leaving 44 days left in the year, like Abraham equals 44, like Obama number 44. Again, A Promised Land plays on the prophecy of Abraham in the Bible. The Abrahamic religions, what Judaism, Christianity, and Islam are based in, the Torah. But in the 44th book of the Bible, Acts 7:6, that's the verses about 400 years of slavery. So these numbers have so much to do with slavery. Clarence Thomas is about to turn 76 in 2 days, right? In 2 days. And he's the only one that stands up for the Second Amendment, right? Second. Again, the ruling today, June 21st, his 76th birthday, June 23rd. So, again, the way that they put the numbers and the rituals together, but then think about the deeper meaning. Again, if you cannot protect yourself from tyranny, you will be enslaved more and more as time goes on. Yeah, it's the state that's doing this to us, and it's the state that's created this society that's so terrible to each other. Again, the United States has some of the craziest problems in the world, in the developed world, in terms of just like rape and murder. There are other places it's banned too. Again, I hate people make that argument. It's even worse in other places. What kind of argument is that? Imagine you're living like in a household where this stuff is happening, but in other places it's also not happening at all. But then you're like, oh yeah, those other homes way down the block over there, it's also happening there. So then you justify it that way. That's why I get sick of just. It's been that way for all of my adult life, trying to bring up anything. Everyone has the same dumb arguments. Everything's a coincidence. Oh, it's better here than anywhere else. That was actually everybody's line back in the early 2000s. What, are you saying you don't like it here? Well, I mean, the world's a big place. You can move somewhere else. It's like, oh, it sounds real American. I thought this is the place where you like fight for rights and liberty. It's a place we play Nintendo and drink Slurpees. Yeah. So again, I mean, just being made into slaves. That's the sick joke, really. Here, this is how they're doing it, one day at a time, incrementally, and then to build on. What's wild is from Biden's birthday to today is 214 days later. And Dallas is the 214 area code, right? And then again, JFK, the nation's first Catholic president. Joe Biden's the second. JFK killed in Dallas at age 46. Joe Biden, number 46. Again, Catholic equals 46, like sacrifice equals 46. Again, Genesis 46 about sacrifice, the first book in the 46 books of the Catholic Old Testament. Numbers aren't arbitrary. We've learned this 214 seems to do a lot, interestingly enough, also seems to have to do a lot with the history of the Church of Satan and rituals they've been doing with Trump. And remember when Biden beat Trump, Trump just couldn't get off of 214 electoral votes. See, they just had this NBA Finals paying tribute to these numbers and these men. Joe Biden's Secret Service name is Celtic. They had to fudge Game 4, so it'd be on Trump's 78th birthday. Jason Tatum got his 45th playoff loss that day on number 45's birthday, and the only game that Joe Celtic Biden's team lost on Trump's birthday. Again, it was Trump's 78th, going with the 78th NBA season, going with Biden taking office at age 78 after announcing he was running for president the day John Havlicek of the Boston Celtics died, when Boston Celtics equals 78, and they won this 78th NBA season, and finals began on their 78th birthday, and just everything else. Again, just all these number rituals, but how it's all scripted together. And how JFK was from Massachusetts, like Boston. Dead in Dallas, like the finals, where they paid tribute all throughout it to the numbers corresponding with JFK's life and death. The 35th president dead on I-35. Catholic equals 35 forwards, 46 in reverse. They assigned those numbers to Joe Biden and JFK, as well as Beau Biden and Hunter Biden. Hunter getting it lately, born on the 35th day of the year while they're doing these rituals, paying tribute to JFK, again killed in the 214 area code. That's where the 214 fits in. And with regards to Clarence Thomas turning 76, remember Skull and Bones equals 76, and the big famous Skull and Bones member, George Herbert Walker Bush, was in Dallas when JFK was assassinated. And who put Clarence Thomas on the bench? None other than George Herbert Walker Bush, who was there for the JFK assassination. How these things are happening now while Biden's at the end of his first term. And I mean, it really is hard to... I mean, if they want to do the ultimate, just like, F you to the country, can you imagine a Joe Biden second term with the... apparently the state of his being? I mean, the thing the other day dancing where his face locked up like he was... Again, I don't even put it on Joe Biden. This guy's probably been a CIA puppet since he won senator-elect in 72. R.I.P. to his wife and daughter days later. But yeah, okay. Again, in terms of why, like, in my opinion, if you're somebody out there who's saying that this work is just all coincidence and just anyone can assemble numbers and patterns and that's what numbers do, if you're seriously helping put out that message and never going any deeper and like, see, when I see people trying to attack my work, I never see them actually like looking at my work and trying to say why that's stupid. Again, we've been laying out the case for a long time about how in the 16th century, the century of the Jesuits, again, page 29 of my first book says this all leads back to the Jesuits. But it's the 16th century, the century of the Jesuits, that the language is established as it is with the 26 letters, about the same time of English Bibles coming out, but also at the same moment you get the Gregorian calendar, these numbered Bibles using these biblical numbers as high ritual, assigning meaning to numbers through the Bible, where the fourth book is called Numbers. But anyway, this is about the Second Amendment, right? And again, over time, the nation's capital was moved to the Jesuit stronghold, Washington, D.C. And we're going to get to that part next with the Pope, the first Jesuit Pope. You can remember the first Jesuit Pope. He's the 266th, and he spoke in Washington, D.C., September 23rd, 2015, the 266th day of the year. And the Jesuit motto, Isus Hominum Salvator, is 266. You can see that they're doing these rituals. There's just a million different points you can stick your finger at and connect it. Arturo Sosa is the leader of the Jesuits. The calendar we're on was given to us by a Jesuit priest. Thus, again, I mean, the language, all of this stuff goes back to the Catholic Church. I don't know what other culprit could have done this. But think about it. 222 days after their leader's birthday, this major assault on the Second Amendment synced up with Clarence Thomas's birthday, which is in 2 days. And with regards to the Washington, D.C. part, again, that's where the Jesuits set up camp, thus Georgetown. Georgetown's been there longer than we've had a president in office. George Washington was later in the year that Georgetown was established in 1789. Georgetown, January 23rd, 1789. George Washington, March 4th, 1789. But anyway, from the Pope's birthday to today, this ritual, this huge, really undermining, again, I don't know if there's any other way to put it, a huge undermining of the Second Amendment for a lot of people. And for a lot of people, it might be just, they might feel unsafe. And I get it. People are saying, well, they've made people feel unsafe before. Okay. So what? Making them now feel unsafe? It's 20 years later in their life. They just like to have it just in case, like a lot of people. The just in case is an important thing, because just in case happens to some people, and some people don't have a way to protect themselves, and really bad things happen. And yeah, sometimes people have things to protect themselves and bad things also happen. But still, do you really want to take the chance out of somebody's hands of them having a chance to save their life? Then people are making the argument, but now you're given the chance of, like, okay. Again, this is why at the end of the day, you can have these arguments all day, but rights and liberties and creating the right society, better people who would never kill their neighbors and shoot up grocery stores and first graders and movie theaters. And if they really did hate the government so much, they'd work together and overthrow that tyrannical government rather than taking their frustration out on, school-age kids. I mean, it's always the same crap narrative. Sorry, hold on. I'm getting off even on a tangent because we haven't even gotten to today's shooting. But we're going to get to where the shooting in Forsyth, I believe it is. Fordyce, excuse me, in Fordyce fits in. But yes, look at the gematria of, again, it's 187 days after the Pope's birthday. Society of Jesus has the gematria 187, formal title of the Jesuits, like Washington, D.C., like Paris, France. The Jesuits are from France. Pope Francis is the first Jesuit pope. Pope also has that 56. And so does Clarence Thomas. And so does Black Lives Matter. And notice Black Lives Matter is also 173. Black Lives Matter is also 173 against the 173rd day of the year. They just painted Black Lives Matter on Church Street. Think about Church Street in light of the Catholic Church on June 5th of 2020 after the George Floyd riots. That date can be written 5-6. Ronald Reagan equals 56. He died on that day in history. He was president, of course. 40th president, MAGA, the original Hollywood act. Actually, he wasn't the original Hollywood actor to go in the Oval Office, but one of the first. And just think about that sick joke too, because these people who put this system together, I mean, they literally are the most clever devils. And again, it's just like when they overturned Roe versus Wade on Freemasonry's birthday in the Masonic City and the huge also Jesuit ritual, because Jesuit priests wrote the rites of the Scottish Rite. Again, DC's the Jesuit Masonic City, and the Jesuits and the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry share the Ad Merum Dei Gloriam motto, which has a gematria value of 172. That's noteworthy today because in a non-leap year, today would be the 172nd day of the year. So when you think about the anniversary of when they talk, probably a year from today, on anniversaries, they like to talk about things that happened a year. A year from now, you're watching the news. They're bringing up this and how it's impacted America since. You might see some overwhelming stat about how many people legally lost the right to own guns. If you read enough articles that are put out there, the right researcher, you might find an article about how many people ended up in prison over not giving up their guns after this decision. And again, opening this door, what's the next thing that they say retroactively can get you to lose your right to have a gun? These people, though, man, how they got it all synced up. Bible, it's ice cold, and I just thought about another 81 in light of Kobe Bryant. We all know Kobe scored 81, his career high in his 666th game on January 22nd. Mark of the Beast equals 81. That's 666. Kobe had the 666 workout. Kobe Bean Bryant, his full name equals 81, just like Mark of the Beast. And run it the other way, they both equal 54, like he died the Sunday before Super Bowl 54. And of course, Sun is 54, like Jesuit order. Again, the Jesuits' headquarters, the Church of the Jesu, building 54. They just put up the Kobe statue this year on the Pope's 54th day of his age. Kobe Bryant, without the middle name, is 41. He died at 41 on the Pope's 41st day of his age, traveling from Catholic Mass. USA 41, again, the Jesuit suppression of 41 years, where this country was formed in that time, as was the Illuminati by a Jesuit. But the Mark of the Beast thing is interesting because judge and beast and gavel and obey and authority and all these words equal 47. I'm saying beast is 47, like judge, like gavel, like obey, like government, like authority, like Republican, like Democrat, like even the letters DC with the alphabetic order in reverse. There's been plenty of beast stuff with judges over the years as well. Kobe died on 47 date numerology. Him putting up that career high in his 666 game on January 22nd matters 122 because satanic equals 122, like San Francisco. The Church of Satan, founded in San Francisco on the 122nd Meridian West. And there's a whole lot of other rituals with 122 and satanic. Abortion equals 122. Roe versus Wade on January 22nd, 122 days after Jane Roe's birthday, which was September 22nd. Abortion the other way, the small way, is 22, like she's born on the 22nd day of the year, but also 122. Again, the 4 base ciphers, alphabetic order forwards and backwards. You see the system and how the government's been using it for all this time. Why the feds recognized Black History Month in 76 in the time of Gerald Ford, who also Gerald Ford, again, put out the prediction at the Herbert Hoover Library, answering a little girl's question about how we'll get the first female president. Gerald Ford said there'll be an old man who will be president and a younger woman who will be vice president, and that old man will die, and that woman will become the first female president. Again, what's wild about that is he's Gerald Ford, who's connected to Black History Month in 76. Gerald Ford, again, he said that in the Herbert Hoover Library, and if you look at the day Herbert Hoover died, October 20th, 1964, the year of the Civil Rights Act, that was the same day that Kamala Harris was born, October 20th, 1964. She'll turn 60 later this year, right before the 60th presidential election. But again, her and Biden won the 59th election in tribute to John F. Kennedy, who equals 59 as well, like Pope Francis, who Benedict stepped down for on the 59th day of the year. Pope Francis finished his first year with the Jesuits in 59, meaning he began it in 58. Remember, Pope Francis equals 58 and 59, just like Freemasonry. And there's this link with the Jesuits and the Masons and this nation's capital, known as the Masonic City, but where the Jesuits were there in the D.C. area before any of them. Yeah, just Joe Biden down in Texas on JFK's birthday anniversary after the major Jesuit ritual through Uvalde. Just all these things that they've just built and building up to this moment. Biden firmly saying there'll be major gun reform when he first took office. It could be a lot more if they got some 1968 specials up their sleeve. Again, that was the year MLK and RFK went down, which was now 56 years ago. This year, on the 5th day of the 6th month, it was the 56th anniversary of RFK being shot. And funny enough, RFK Jr., his son, is in the race, and they won't give him Secret Service. Remember, the Secret Service was formed the day in history that Lincoln was shot. And remember, that was April 14th, 14/4, like 144. And the Jesuit John Surratt is the guy who got away, and they hung his mom for it. And Lincoln blamed the Civil War on the Jesuits. And again, Jesuit order equals 144, like the United States of America. But Lincoln shot 14/4 RFK Jr. in this presidential race, officially April 5th, 2023, 144 days after the Superior General's birthday. Again, his father dead at 1:44 a.m. His uncle dead 144 days from meeting with the Pope. And the list goes on. President Biden even has the Gematria 144, and he has the same birthday as RFK. So it's 56 years since that happened. And there's been a number of other 56 rituals we've documented with RFK last year, including his assassination scare in Los Angeles where his father was shot. but it does feel like they're really bringing together a narrative where they're really zeroing in on doing something even bigger with guns. Because I mean, that's the way I look at this. I look at this as a major crack in the foundation of the Second Amendment, which is it's already severely cracked. Like I said, if you're a legal gun owner in your state and you go on a road trip and you think you might be totally unaware, and that's why the ignorant. That's why the law says ignorance isn't an excuse. And that's bullshit. Because it's like, well, listen, we were in slave school for 13 years. We learned we had these amendments. I don't remember a single time K through 12 where my high school teacher made a point. Now, if you do become a Second Amendment, rights person and own a weapon for yourself, make sure you know the laws very well, because it is easy to end up in a federal prison just because you went on a road trip cross state boundaries with your gun. You can't legally own it in that state though, and now you've crossed a federal boundary, and now there's federal laws that again, you guys, this is why this nation the way it is. It's a purposeful game. They know that, I mean, for decades they've been building more prisons than schools. Things like this are just going to end up with more decent people in prison cells, which isn't any kind of net gain for society. You take a man out of a household who's changed his life in the last 20 years, and he's doing it right this time. For him, the third time was the charm. Again, I mean, it's why it all got to get shut down. Okay. But by the way, did you see what they did at the Hall of Fame game, you guys? You see that right after Willie Mays dies at 93, on the 93rd day of the season, they have his Giants playing in the Negro League Stadium, back where he used to play for his team before he was in white Major League Baseball. But we were talking about the other night how Willie Mays has the May 6th birthday, that 5-6. I forgot to mention Black Lives Matter 56. Of course, when Obama won the election with Biden, that was the 56th U.S. presidential election. 5-6. Black Lives Matter. Lots of rituals. But last night, Willie Mays with the May 6th birthday. Another date that can be written 5-6. Giants, his team lose 5-6. What happened was the Giants fell to 7-6 in the Central. 7-6. Just like how Clarence Thomas is about to turn 76. Negro 76 like Barack Obama. Again, slave, blues, Rasta, Negro, all 76. And just go. You guys, it's not just that the federal government recognized Black History Month in 76. They didn't recognize it on the first day of the month. They recognized it on February 10th. And February 10th can be written 10/2 like 102. And slavery equals 102. And again, the American Civil War was over slavery. And they did a cold ritual the other year on February 10th, trading Ben Simmons in a 76ers involved trade. It was messed up, man. And his dad, yeah. And we saw it coming before they even did it. We said, are they going to wait till February 10th, the anniversary of the feds recognizing Black History Month in 76? Sure enough, that's exactly what they did with Ben Simmons. And he happens to be from Australia, which even has the 102 encode in it as well. And that's another place conquered by the very pale British, where people used to have darker skin tones. You know what I mean? And again, people got to get over the race thing too, because even though you can see what's been done and how, yeah, it does seem like a certain race in modern times have been doing a lot of conquering of darker people, that doesn't mean you can hate every white person. Not every white person's responsible for that. And I'm pretty sure if you survey the majority of white people, they wouldn't want people to be killed or have to be destroyed so that they can have a right to life. And I think when things have happened in the past, it's easy for people to go, well, that was a long time ago, like we do with the genocide of the natives. But really, it wasn't that long ago. We're like a pretty young country, and we had a very violent history. And remember, our country was founded in the time of the Jesuit suppression, but in the time of the Illuminati, right after a Jesuit priest published Art of War. You know what I mean? It's just all you guys. In the history books, they taught us that, the New World was conquered and Columbus discovered the New World on behalf of the Catholic Church. And now all these world leaders echoing New World Order. And funny enough, in Gematria, New World Order equals the Jesuit order. It's not hard to see who's done it, man. This stuff's too perfect every day. And this is, it's another. What's sad is probably more than half the country probably approves of this today, too. I mean, people just don't even understand how they're shooting themselves in the foot. It's because they're under this mind control and they just have no idea that it could all be so rigged and all so sick and satanic and evil, and that their government could be so bad and that there could be even a necessity for revolution. They're thinking like the hot water's on, the power's on, there's still food here. I'm entertained. My life's compared to what I heard about my aunt. I'm not having to survive lion attacks, and you know what I mean. Um, you can always justify that things are good enough. And in a way, I mean, there are a lot of good things about this world. You should always appreciate, you should always see the full picture, the good and the bad, but there's some seriously bad stuff. Like what I'm showing, if I'm not wrong about this is seriously bad. Just high ritual day after day that makes a mockery of us, our history, murdering people. I mean, don't you find it weird how it all lines up with Willie Mays and it did take place on the 93rd day of the season? You know, isn't that weird? Here, hold on. Look at this. The one thing I got to go back and double check was, did they start was it from the 93rd day of the total season or the 93rd day of the Giant season? Remember, the season began 8 days early for the ritual with the Dodgers and Padres, perfectly synced with Steve Garvey, who played for both teams, who's expected to become a senator this year in California. We've been talking about the rituals they've been doing with Steve Garvey and the Dodgers and Padres this year, but hold on. Their first game was March 20th. The Willie Mays game was yesterday, the first day of summer. Okay, so yeah, it was 92 days after the very first game of the season began. And what we've noticed this year is there's kind of two different counts of the season because there's all the rest of the teams began on March 28th, except for the Dodgers and the Padres and the Steve Garvey trip. And that's how you can show you that they're just doing things super goofy. I mean, they've got it so synced with Steve Garvey, who's running for office. They got to have these teams start in another country, talk about New World Order, 8 days before everybody else. But yeah, if you count the span of days, that's 93 days, right? If you don't count the span of days, it's 92 days later. He just died at 93. The thing that's noteworthy about 92 is in Gematria, when you run the alphabetic order in reverse, Giants equals 92. Giants, his team, after his death, their loss. And it was funny that the Giants had the pitcher Wynn on the mound who lost, and he became 3-8 for the year. Like Giants and death are 38, and the Giants picked up their 38th loss of the year, the day that Willie Mays died. And God, there's even more to it, you guys. It's been 202 months since Barry Bonds set the home run record, and Willie Mays was there for that. And Willie Mays is Barry Bonds' godfather, but San Francisco equals 202. And I remember last year, oh God, Tony Bennett. I left my heart in San Francisco. He died on the 202nd day of the year. Ice cold for Tony Bennett. And the other thing about Barry Bonds is from his last birthday to the death of Willie Mays was Barry Bonds' 331st day of his age, which is the 67th prime. Blood sacrifice has a gematria of 67, like human sacrifice. Sadly, these numbers come up all the time in these ritualistic deaths. But yeah, we did a lot on Willie Mays. I just wanted to do a little follow-up real quick with the game and the 5-6 score. And again, this big tribute. Again, think about it. MLB, for the first time this year, incorporated Negro League stats, and they just did it a few weeks ago. And then this special game at the Negro League field, and it's right as the first Negro man on the Supreme Court is turning 76. Again, he's like the Jackie Robinson of the Supreme Court, Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas is literally the Jackie Robinson of the Supreme Court. Well, unless you look more into it, and then you find out Moses Walker was actually the first black baseball player to play in white major league, and he played 42 games, and Moses Walker equals 42, like slavery, Jackie, and a million other things related to black history, including the month of February. But yeah, I'm just thinking about how quickly they've just done all this stuff in baseball. It's sick, man. And I imagine next year that we'll probably see some big honor for Willie Mays as soon as Black History Month comes around. Black History Month has that gematria 93. And again, those numbers connect big time to the deaths of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr., who were both also killed at 39, the reflection. That was the one thing. I told people yesterday that this game was tricky and that I thought the Cardinals to win the series was the smarter pick, because had the Cardinals lost yesterday, they could have got their 38th loss in light of the Giants in death, or win could fall to 3-8. But again, sometimes you see how that they're really putting the ritual together, but even still, they got the number on both sides. So it's like, oh, they got it so that 38 thing can really go either way today. And you know what's messed up? Remember, Hank Aaron, we talked about his death was synced with Willie Mays. They both retired at 42. These baseball greats. Willie Mays dead this year. What the year Hank Aaron died right before the season got underway with spring training. The Braves went on to win the World Series that year. But something we talked about yesterday, too, was that if the Cardinals did end up winning every game in the series, look at how many losses the Giants are going to have. It would be the latest 42 ritual if they did that. If the Giants lose all 3 games, they came in with 39 losses. They could end up with 42 after the death of Willie Mays, who retired at age 42. And again, don't kid yourself. They do this kind of stuff all the time in sports. That said, things have become less consistent with the historical patterns in recent years because of how many people have caught on to this. So anyway, the Clarence Thomas thing, the symbolism in it, people choosing not to see it. You know who really disappoints me? That there's a guy out there who spends, probably at least a quarter of his time of his video making energy talking about the Second Amendment. And for years, I've been trying to get him to acknowledge how every time there's like some big legal thing that has to do with undermining the Second Amendment, it could be in a state, could be federal. You just see the high ritualism of it. And oftentimes we've been able to predict those dates. The other year in Colorado, the date that was coming up was so easy to predict. And then sure enough, that day, the headline was their governor was signing this new law in the state to further undermine the Second Amendment. We're like, see, it's made too much sense. Colorado, gun control, government, it all came together. And you can just see the way the game is being played. It is a game that we are allowing to be played at our expense. And it does lead to a greater and greater form of enslavement. And don't think you're not already well on the path. I mean, I started to realize this when I was a kid. When I started to realize I had to be in school, it wasn't a choice. I was like, they're telling me about how free I am with the word dumb at the end of it, freedom. And then I'm like, but I'm here and I don't want to be here. And I understand, again, I'll always say this. I love learning. I did well in school, but I was so bored because it was always so easy. I just always thought school was so easy, especially math. I love numbers, and it was just always so simple. And then what's crazy is you get to high school, and then it's just like, it's like a huge gap. And it's like, man, I feel like there should have been a better progression to get to this. It's like a huge learning curve. I'm like, I feel like they should have done better these last 6, 7, 8, 9 years before I got to this level. It's like, whoa. And that's why a lot of people drop out with math too, because they're like, okay, I like math, but now it's like getting to a point where this is like crazy, and I don't see how I'm ever going to use this in my life. But then some people do, but it's a rarity. Okay, let's go back to the mass shooting. Let's see if they've changed anything. It started as 2 killed today, right? So we have a major Supreme Court ruling on guns. Then to top it off, we have a top headline out of a shooting here in a town at a grocery store where reportedly 2 are killed and 8 are injured. Remember where we started today's date numerology is 8. They had 2 big fat 8s right up on the front page of CNN. Looks like it's still there. The 8 injured and the 8-year-old that was 6 feet tall at the time. It's funny that Fox News' headline "Complete Chaos equals 216." I mean, you can write today's date that way, 21/6. The town where this happened, you guys, on the day where Clarence Thomas is the only dissenting vote. Fordyce. Isn't it funny that it equals 76? And it also equals 40 if you apply numerology. Today is the 173rd day of the year. We talked about the 173, domestic violence, Black Lives Matter. 173 is the 40th prime number. And what happened last night, but it's in the news a lot today because it happened nighttime, so now it's in the morning cycle for today's news. They're talking about the Louisiana governor making it so that they're going to put up a poster in public school classrooms of the 10 Commandments, which seems like a pretty obvious breach of the idea of separation of church and state. But this idea of separation of church and state, there's been a lot of breaches in it with some of the stuff they've done with private schools and federal money that's been going on for a while. So it also remains to be seen as if time goes on, if just everything just starts looking a lot more Catholic. It's like, wow, a lot of people live in the country now. They're nice people. They're very Catholic. Have you noticed the entire Supreme Court now is entirely Catholic? I could see that in the future. Just the whole court's Catholic. All the online conspiracy theorists are still saying Jews run the country. Every last one's a Catholic now. You remember what they did to Ruth Bader Ginsburg? Dead 187 days after her birthday on the Jewish New Year, replaced by the Catholic Amy Coney Barrett. Anyway, isn't it funny that the name of the town has the 76? Isn't it funny how it just all fits together? And again, the 40 is very interesting too, because it's the 173rd day of the year, the 40th prime number. Again, United States equals 40, U.S. equals 40, Old Testament equals 40. And again, this focus on the 10 Commandments today in the news on this day. I know it happened last night, but today, big focus in the news as well. Again, 10 Commandments from the Old Testament. So I don't think these things are an accident. Biblical order, the old Catholic military order, the Knights Templar, they got the 173 connection. Knights Templar 173. There's a reason the Templar cross is in the Jesuit logo. The Jesuits gave us the calendar, but again, the Templars supposedly melted away in history, burned at the stake. And again, don't forget the Templars were the original bankers either. So, other familiar numbers. Fordyce, Arkansas has the gematria of active shooter. That was the terminology when it broke. Active shooter situation. Grocery store, we've talked about so many times. Grocery store has the same gematria as mass shooting. There's a reason that they're so redundant with their Kabbalistic rituals, all for the sake of literally mind control. We didn't get into the full 56 list. There's a lot more to that 56. The pandemic, that was all 56. Everyone thinks Trump's the hero. Jesuit-educated pandemic 56 years after his Jesuit education began. Every Jesuit in high place had their own 56 ritual. 56 billionaires made in the year of the pandemic, while Jeff Bezos was the biggest beneficiary at age 56. 56th mayor of Seattle in Bill Gates' backyard. Bill Gates' wife turned 56 in 2020 on the Jesuit order's birthday when she's from a family of Jesuit priests. I'm sure it was all just an accident. 1,056,000. The dude who wrote the Da Vinci Code about the Illuminati and the Catholic Church. Again, the Illuminati was founded by a Jesuit who serves the Catholic Church. But why can I not think of his name right now? The Da Vinci Code writer. His name is escaping me, but he turned 56 in 2020. All-seeing eye is 56, like the Illuminati symbol. Mind control's 56, like coronavirus, like COVID vaccine, like toilet paper, like a million things connected to the pandemic. Trump was promoting Regeneron, 56. Literally a gazillion 56s. So many Jesuits. Fordham is where Cuomo and Trump went to school, the Jesuit school in New York. Cuomo was the 56th governor of New York at the time. Slick Willie Gavin Newsom with his big 56 ritual. His name equals 56, and he's 56 years old right now. He'll turn 57 October 10th this year. Does something happen to Slow Joe? With all the RFK connections 56 years later before Gavin Newsom turns 57? We'll see. We'll see. Slick Willie, he said 56% of Californians getting the virus in 8 weeks. That's 56 days. If you translate it, 56% in 56 days from the governor whose name equals 56, who's Jesuit educated, who went to Santa Clara. Remember what they did to the Smash Mouth singer right before 49ers Smash Mouth football got underway in Santa Clara last year. Good for the Super Bowl bid, but not the Super Bowl win. Norma Hunt was a bigger sacrifice on the 49ers birthday, the Chiefs owner. Plus Len Dawson, I'm sure he still had clout from the year before. He bought him 2 championships back-to-back. Len Dawson on Kobe Bryant Day. Hello, Chiefs versus Philly, Kobe's team. I don't know how people can't see this stuff, especially when it's all by the numbers. We pointed out the day Len Dawson died. We said, look at that. Kansas City Chiefs equals 172. He's dead 172 days before the Super Bowl. I wonder what that means. If you missed the video I just did the other day on the Juneteenth, how on Juneteenth they had this racial tension narrative going on MSNBC about Clarence Thomas and Amy Coney Barrett. Again, remember, they're both Catholic Jesuit educated. They're on the same fraternity of education and upbringing in this power class in D.C., the Jesuit stronghold. But Amy Coney Barrett went to the Catholic College, Notre Dame, which has the 41 like Juneteenth, the day they did this ritual, the day they freed the slaves right before Thomas's 76th birthday. Again, USA's got that old 41, Jesuit suppression for 41 years. This was on Amy Coney Barrett's 144th day of her age, Jesuit Order 144. She's from New Orleans, hosting Super Bowl 59 this year. And again, the way they sync up the feds with the sports, pay attention. It always ends up coming together very clearly if you follow the narrative. This is how we hit the futures, when we follow it tightly enough. Again, the Jesuit suppression ended 144 days after James Madison's birthday. Just making the point about how deep this stuff is. Clarence Thomas being born on the right day of the year to be on the Supreme Court. Or just reminding about how Amy Coney Barrett replaced Ruth Bader Ginsburg 187 days after Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Well, Ruth died 187 days after her birthday, again on the Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah, and then the Catholic replaced her. 187, Society of Jesus, Holy Roman Empire, Brotherhood of Death. That's the alias for Skull and Bones, modeled after the Templars. Skull and Bones is 202, like the DC area code. Anyway, it's also 41, like how long the suppression lasted. 41, the 13th prime. Here we are in the land of everything 13, including 13 years of slave school where you learn nothing about nothing. And again, just Society of Jesus the other way, 191. This ritual with her and Clarence Thomas on Juneteenth went down right at the beginning of her 191st week on the court, the week he turned 76. I don't care for any of these Jesuit puppets, but I don't wish death on anybody. I feel like that's a bad thing to do. It might be deserved. You've heard me say, like, in a way, if these horrible things happen, it's deserved. I don't like really saying that, but I do kind of feel, and I understand why I say it that way, but I don't wish death on people. And I'd hate for Clarence Thomas to get the O.J. Simpson treatment, Antonin Scalia type of treatment. Dead on. Remember how they even like if you were watching Fox News, they're really pushing the conspiracy theories that number 44 whacked Antonin Scalia, but never once would they point out that he just died out of nowhere on the 44th day of the year. That's why I hate the news media. They put numbers in all their stories, but then the talking heads never just talk about everything like it's a coincidence, and it drives me nuts. Remember, Clarence Thomas also went to Yale, where Skull and Bones is, and Justice Amy Coney Barrett's 322. Skull and Bones is known as Order 322. Yale's 322 years old. Again, Clarence Thomas went there. He's likely a member of Skull and Bones. It also equals 41, like Juneteenth. And again, he was appointed by number 41, Skull and Bones member George Herbert Walker Bush. So think about how this is all happening now. And this year will mark the 33rd year of Clarence Thomas being on the Supreme Court. Bonesman equals 33. That's the alumni of Skull and Bones. It's like how the son Bush, who was the 43rd president, Yale equals 43, like they both went to Yale. Again, he graduated from Yale Skull and Bones 33 years before 2001, which matters because it was 1968 when World Trade Center construction began, and 911 was made the national emergency dialing code by AT&T, which equals 41, and 9/11 happened on 41 date numerology, 11 years to the day of Papa Bush, talking about a new world order, a world free or a terror. And Skull and Bones in reverse is 76, like Clarence Thomas is about to turn 76, like how the second Bush is born July 6th, and the Georgia Guidestones came down in a huge ritual on Bush's 76th birthday, the son. And think about that, too, with just the depopulation stuff, you guys. It's a lot easier for a government to calmly wipe out a people if they don't have any way to defend themselves. Plans to depopulate, I feel like an unarmed populace fits into that agenda. Yeah, you can make an argument that an armed populace who's been taught to not cooperate with anybody in a bad situation, likely on some kind of medication that could have all kinds of side effects in such a situation, it might be Armageddon for the country just because nobody knew how to work together and they all killed each other. That's possible too in an armed world. But again, I'd rather go out that way than knowing that we all gave up our rights and liberties and we allowed the government to just bulldoze us right when our number was up. Because that's the thing about these people. They're patient and they do work by this code, just chipping away day by day when the numbers line up for the right ritual. Oh, they're like, oh, we got a good one here with Clarence as he approaches his 33rd year as we really undermine the Second Amendment by opening up the Pandora's box of this retroactive crime can now cause you to no longer have a gun, even though prior to today you were a legal owner. I'm sure there's plenty of states where it's already that way too, and that's why they're now making it the federal law. all these different state laws. That's how you get yourself in trouble. You're like, what? It's that illegal here? It's totally legal in my state. You drove from Washington State to the middle of the country and you smoked a joint up in Washington while you were in a parking lot and you didn't realize there was one little weed flake. And now judge is all up in your ass because he thinks he smells something. He found one little flake and, oh, it's a big problem in this state now. Again, things should not be this way in a country. That's why this country is ridiculous. People will say, well, that's why you need a federal government, not a ridiculous federal government. What we need is just more simple government, and there can be some kind of federal alliance that's just really easy. It should all fit on a page. It should just be like really simple stuff that the government's never going to do to their people ever, 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 because it's just simple to understand why, and it's evil, and it automatically ensures that corrupt people will take over the government and make sure it's used to constantly, day after day, exploit the people who have to live under it. So we've all been going through, and we're all just so used to it. But they also know how to entertain these people. They know how to keep you so you'll tolerate it. Unless you're one of, unless you're one of the growing suicide statistics, which has happened because they've just added more pressure to everybody's lives with all of their bullshit in the 21st century that really got underway in 2020, a year that I was warning about damn near just nonstop from 2015 on. The warnings of what was to come in 2020 in light of how these psychopaths work in 19-year cycles. COVID-19 ended up being it 19 years after 9/11, the 19 hijackers. Where's been Clarence Thomas this whole time, been with this big brain to all these people in the federal government to just speak out? I mean, they've all been part of the puppet show. They're all guilty, but again, none of them deserve to get off by the code. And just with regards to this moment with Clarence Thomas, they've been building these tensions. Look at this. Look at this documentation from 2022. Samuel L. Jackson takes race-based shot at Justice Thomas over Roe versus Wade. Again, the pillars of masonry. The number 2, you guys. The number 2 is divisive. 2 can represent coming together, but also coming apart. The dualism of everything. But Freemasonry's birthday, it was overturned. And again, it was a massive 201 ritual. And remember, at that time, they talked about how black women would be the most impacted. And they just put the first black woman on the Supreme Court, Ketanji Brown Jackson. And the law, or the case that overturned Roe versus Wade, was Dobbs versus Jackson. And then right after this, they got to come at you with Samuel L. Jackson versus Clarence Thomas. Is it the movie Boys in the Hood where Samuel L. Jackson is just like, he's like a ruthless killer in that movie? Is that what movie it is? Maybe it's not Boys in the Hood. It's one of the other movies from that era. Yeah, one of Samuel L. Jackson's early roles. He is just like violent and deadly. I forget what it is. At that time, Clarence Thomas was 74. The loving ruling. A lot of love babies. It's where a lot of abortions happen. All this stuff is sick. And 67 as well, you guys. Remember, again, if I don't mean to shame women who've gotten an abortion. Like I always say, it's a big gray area. I don't think any woman would ever get an abortion if we lived in a better world and there was real community and every woman felt supported. I mean, most people get abortions because they panic and they don't know how they're going to do this, and they already have enough problems in their life. That's the world a lot of people live in. Like I always say, I mean, the politicians they just make all these stupid rules each year to create more divisiveness and keep people dividing in each voting in each election cycle over the same things. The game they play with us. You know, they overturned it, but now it's real political this year. And now, you know, these people want to come in and make all these new laws to undermine what the Supreme Court did. You just see this, the way this game gets played. But again, if you really think about it, like in terms of what's good and bad, it would be really hard to describe. I'm just trying to make the world black and white on this abortion topic. And again, it's not a black and white topic, but just to make a point. If you have to divide things into good or bad, it can only be one or the other. This would be a difficult game. But if you talked about abortion, I guess I would make that. Well, it's good when a young girl is right. Okay. No, here's what I'm not about that. just about the actual life inside of a human being. Does it seem good that you have to literally terminate that life? You have to end it. You have to kill that life. That chance at life, again, sometimes you've heard those stories that, and again, everybody should be able to make their own decisions, really. I don't think there should be any law, harsh law for abortion. I think the idea should be that as a society, we should try to make sure every woman, we should figure out a way to make sure no woman has to get an abortion. And again, you guys, there's a reason these things happened too when they did. Roe versus Wade went into effect not long after 1968, a year where there was a major focus on population control. So anyway, the taking of a life, I mean, it's hard to in any way come up and say, yeah, that taking the way the possible life of a baby is a good thing, or it's like almost impossible to put it in the good category. If you get into the subject of abortion itself, sure, you could make certain arguments where, yeah, it might be a good thing. I used to work in a teen homeless shelter. There was a 14-year-old old girl in that homeless shelter who'd been raped, and she was well pregnant, and she blew me away. Really, she was one of, like, if like, I think before I die, if like I remember life, I'll probably remember that girl, because the reason I remember her is because for her age, she seemed so smart and so wise, and she was confident that she was going to be able to overcome all of her problems and make a good life for her baby. And but that's not every 14-year-old girl. But she was just so confident despite her situation. And I don't know what ended up happening with her story. I hope that's exactly how it was. But I felt like she was going to fulfill it. Somehow, some way, she was going to defy the odds and make it all work out. And, someday I might be like, oh, I might be an old man. I might see some story in Seattle and I'm reading. I'm like, that's got to be it. That's got to be the one. That's how old she'd be. But yeah, I mean, again, what are we entitled to? The pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. I mean, if say, and then we have legal terms. We're like, something growing inside of a person is not a person. It's like, man, who makes these decisions? These are hard decisions to make. God, can you come out of the clouds and clarify? I mean, everyone keeps swearing in on your Bible. Why don't you speak? And again, I don't say that to ridicule God. I just think I ridicule in a way to kind of how so many people are so certain the way everything is about spirituality. I do think there's absolutely a spiritual component, and there is some absolute creator, or I don't even know why so many people are so sure it's one God. I don't even get caught up in that. I don't know if there's several gods. One, when I pray, I usually pray to one God because that's how I was raised. But I assume, like, if you're really able to communicate with Creator, I assume they pick up on your meaning, and they listen, and maybe sometimes they'll show you, hey, look, we granted your prayer because this time. I didn't want to get into that as well. But anyway, the point is, there is something to spirituality, very much in my opinion, but also in what I've observed about life and just things that cannot be explained, that are they're not consistent in the world of science, where science, everything has to be exact every time. It's like sometimes things happen that are just so crazy that it's way beyond coincidence, and it's highly symbolic of what's going on in my life. So it's so weird that would happen at this moment. A lot of us have had those experiences. That is like a spiritual sign. That's the way Creator interacts. I've talked about this stuff before. But anyway, if there is something spiritual in our actions, and again, this is where a lot of us to be guilty. I think about a lot of my actions, but they could have been a lot better. But if it is if it is against the nature of creation and Creator to terminate life, and this goes in the bad column spiritually, there's a lot of this going on. And isn't it weird how in Gematria, like, it's obvious they're about this satanic 122 code. I mean, satanic 122, San Francisco on the 122nd meridian. Isn't it obvious with Roe versus Wade when abortion's 122 and it's decided 122 days after Roe's birthday on January 22nd? And again, not even everyone recognizes the word satanic, but just in our part of the world where we were of Christian influence and we learn about Christianity and God and Jesus and Satan, we understand good and evil. Okay, you can break it down to that. Satan is part of this deceptive trickster thing, right? And I don't know. Again, I get so tired of how it's my whole life. It's been the same things. It's just people caught up in the exact same things. It's a society that's all caught up in religion and political party, but unwilling to talk about anything. Always getting pulled out to the voting booth for most people. And it does come down to Roe versus Wade and abortion. And it's just like, haven't you seen in your lifetime how just like nothing's really changed? It's been really bad. The statistics have gotten worse. and nobody's ever really been about like awesome solutions. Again, that's how our whole politics is too. It's who do you hate more? It's not about solutions. It's, oh man, see that celebrity said it, so now I feel more entitled to say it. Yeah, when I drive past my corner and they're out there again, I'm gonna flip them off this time. I got the spirit of Samuel L. Jackson. Do you guys remember when Samuel L. Jackson in COVID read that book on TV, Shut the Fuck Up and Go to Sleep, with a tiger on the cover? They done some wicked stuff with Samuel L. Jackson. Yeah, that's what I'm starting to think about. One of his early roles, it might have been Menace to Society if it wasn't Boys in the Hood. It was probably Menace to Society. That movie's more violent. And if it wasn't that movie, it was another movie from that era. But there's one where Samuel L. Jackson, he's just wicked. I remember he just blows away a guy at a table. I haven't seen that movie forever, but hold up. Stay the fuck at home. That's what it was called. Stay the fuck at home. God, this is right at the beginning when they're telling everybody to, oh my God. And that's right. He had that movie. Have you guys ever seen his movie, The Long Kiss Goodnight? Okay, go back and watch that movie if you haven't seen it. Understand it came out before 9/11. If you pay attention, if you're like someone's on your phone and you're missing what's going on in the movie, no, pay attention. I forget exactly where it is. There's some dialogue that comes out of Samuel L. Jackson's mouth that is gonna it's gonna blow your mind. I almost have Will Smith. He's in the other movie that has the 9/11 predictive programming, Enemy of the State. But, oh my God, what Samuel L. Jackson says in that movie in light of what happened on 9/11, it's just like, wow. And look at the title of that book, Stay the Fuck at Home, 201. Look at how it's the exact same as Number of the Beast in 3 out of the 4 ciphers. He had it all going on. He better watch out while the Pope's 87. That'd be cold if they did Samuel L. Jackson. Headline will break. Samuel L. Jackson killed at card game. It'll be used to overturn the next gun law. I'm pretty sure in the movie that I'm thinking of, he's playing a card game and he just shoots somebody. Oh my God. Can you imagine? That's what they call gangster. Isn't it funny how people learn to love the gangster culture through movies, music? It's because gangsters are ruling over us. They got to put a little bit of us or them in us, make you appreciate how gangster we are as we rule over you. Kabbalistically, you can't even see it. Straight Sun Tzu art of war while the sun's over your head, unless you're in Seattle. So many of these stories, you guys. This thing with Harlan Crow and his trips to the rich guy club outside of San Francisco. Speaking of the 122nd Meridian, Bohemian Grove. That this guy Harlan Crow paid for him to go to Bohemian Grove again. This was in the news the same day Alex Jones was in court having to go through the process of liquidating InfoWars for the Sandy Hook trial. But we are pointing out how these things are in the news at the same time. Again, Alex Jones got famous off Bohemian Grove. But notice how Alex Jones and federal are both 33 and 138. And that news with those things at the same time was 138 days before Clarence Thomas's 33rd anniversary of being on the Supreme Court. And again, he went to Yale. He's probably in Skull and Bones. I don't know that for sure, but I think it's pretty likely. Or if he's not, he's getting used by the Skull and Bones gang that's there. He's being puppeteered by them. It could be that as well. Again, he's not one of these people that's a disclosed member of Skull and Bones like the Bushes are. Again, if you're a member, you do not have to disclose. The Bushes, Kerry, remember it was Bush versus Kerry in 2004. They're both members. Mnuchin, who was recently the head of the Federal Reserve. There's a lot of other people. Other Bushes, Prescott Bush, that was the senator back before, the father to Papa Bush, who was the father to King George II, where he's elected number 43 in the state where his brother was the 43rd governor. But anyway, Alex Jones, federal 33-138, this perfect ritual with Clarence Thomas on the same day with Alex Jones in the news cycle. And then the very next week, the judge approved Alex Jones' liquidation. It was like the week before he was like putting it there. A week later, it's approved. I remember the week it was approved was exactly 138 months after the Sandy Hook shooting. It was from December 14th to June 14th. Exactly 138 months. And again, just characters on the world stage. Alex Jones is one of them. We were talking about the Clarence Thomas 56 thing there, too, with the Sandy Hook shooter. And again, Sandy Hook established in 1956 and the shooting 56 years later in 2012 and a whole bunch of other things. And it being 201 months from Dune Blaine, which got gun rights taken away in the UK. And again, the nation's first major gun control legislation here in the U.S. was in 1968, that year of assassinations, 201 days after MLK was killed on 4/4. Again, MLK was killed on the 95th day of the leap year. The Jesuits were created to counter the 95 Theses and created exactly 201 months after Martin Luther pinned the 95 Theses. Remember, the German Pope just died in the time of the first Jesuit Pope, and he died at 95. Martin Luther was a German. Pope Benedict just died at 95. Pope Francis, the first to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican, with all the other 201s connected to his name and life and the building he lives in. Yeah, we've covered a lot of stuff with Clarence Thomas. I'm not going to number overload with all these things, but on Jackie Robinson Day, hold up. Oh my God. On Jackie Robinson Day, he just didn't show up for work, right? Like these things play on old stereotypes. There's probably old. Again, you have to recognize older America grew up with a lot more stereotypes and racism towards Black Americans if they weren't part of Black culture. So imagine being like Clarence Thomas's age, a little bit older than him. There's a good chance that you got some racism. Maybe you didn't like when there was a Black man on the Supreme Court. There are all kinds of Americans still ticking today, but not for much longer, especially with what's going on, who have these kind of feelings. So, and realize they were programmed, right? They've been programming people to feel certain ways about people. But they had to do that on Jackie Robinson Day. And I'm just remembering how many 76 rituals there have been on Jackie Robinson Day over the years. There have been a lot. Jackie Robinson Day, 76, right? So this happened this year. Well, Clarence Thomas is 75, thus in his 76th year of life. Remember, the Superior General is 75 right now, too, and Ignatius Loyola equals 75. That's the founder. But, yeah, Clarence, he just didn't show up for work on Jackie Robinson Day. Remember, they did the Black Eagle dirty on Jackie Robinson's birthday. Real quick, I got a measure from Jackie Robinson Day to today. Interesting. 67 days later, the reflection. I hope Clarence lives well past 76 and lives to be, as old as he possibly can be. But we know that's, again, that we've seen plenty of suspicious deaths around federal government over the years. Ruth Bader Ginsburg joined the club recently. Antonin Scalia was brutal. I just saw John Grisham on TV. I forget if it was one of the main shows. I only watched so much news, but John Grisham was joking that he really needs to write another Pelican Brief, because he was saying how we got to get some of these justices out here. His book, The Pelican Brief, is about how 2 Supreme Court justices get murdered, and he was joking on cable TV that he needs to write another one, like maybe to make it happen. I was like, wow, that's kind of. Some people wouldn't get away with saying that, but they'll bring on John Grisham to talk about it. And again, just as he did that, it just reminded me how all of these big names on the world stage, how they're all in the club and they have all these rituals. We've looked at the Pelican Brief and what happened to Antonin Scalia at the time. There was actually a lot of parallels to that. That was a big thing we covered at the time. So now Biden's in office. Back then he was the VP. Joe Biden equals 44. Obama was number 44. MLK on 4-4, another deadly number. We'll see. Is Joe Biden going to finish his term? Or is a hard Jesuit wind going to blow by? Can be reported as any headline. No one will question anything. On the 29th, there was a big focus on Black America. This was June 29th last year. I just want to show you about some of these stories. Big focus on Clarence Thomas and Ketanji Brown Jackson and Obama. Obama talking January 6th. It was just like an overload all day on the 29th. So I document things like that because I'm like, okay, June 29th, yeah, we know how they work, but it was like overkill. It was just all day focused on. So June 29th, the anniversary of this coming up. See what they do this year. Again, they're trying to build a new civil war. They're trying to make things so divisive over so many issues, including race. Okay. Clarence Thomas, the Harlan Crow thing first came up on May 4th, 5-4. Kind of remind you of Diddy's rough year legally at age 54. Diddy has the same Jesuit prosecutor after him that got R. Kelly at age 54. And again, R. Kelly was sentenced to prison or found guilty. He was found guilty on the day in history the Jesuits were recognized by Rome. September 27th, the day leaving 95 days left in the year. Again, they killed Martin Luther King Jr. on the 95th day of the year, like Martin Luther wrote the 95 Theses. What year was this? This was back when Clarence Thomas was still 74. Okay. This Clarence Thomas thing came exactly 45 weeks after his birthday, the ninth triangular number. Again, there's 9 people on the Supreme Court. The next president to die in office is the ninth. And despite Joe Biden being number 46, he's the 45th person to be president because Grover Cleveland messed up the count with a split term. He was number 22 and 24. Just like how Trump announced in 2022 that he was running for 2024 and is trying to become the nation's second Grover Cleveland. Cleveland equals 78, like how he just turned 78. Yeah, there's been this major political campaign on CNN just like really targeting Clarence Thomas. Oh yeah, look at that. It's this ProPublica thing. It's this Harlan Crow thing. Look how the numbers are all just so perfect. How they put these stories together. Again, if you don't know about 113 in mainstream media, and there's 2 books about it and a million videos going back almost 10 years now. It's just these numbers tell the truth once you realize where they come from. 113 has to do with lies and deception, and it's in so many contrived stories. They just use these people for their agendas. They get to be the names that get blamed, and they do deserve some of the blame for these horrible things that happen because they allow them. And you know what? Maybe actually I shouldn't say that because what if these people are like just like CIA MK Ultra projects and you just have no idea and just whatever day they want to make you you just stand there with a big shit-eating grin like Joe Biden for however many seconds that was. Maybe they got it down like that. They can just do that to you. They got you like on remote control. I don't know. I mean, that's possible. Anything's possible. I do wonder about these people. How do they never speak out? Don't they feel so awful? Or are they just so committed to this agenda of just nonstop? I guess they think it's okay to lie to you if they're forming a better world somehow. I don't know how they think what they're doing is forming a better world. Some people are insane. Learned a lot about insane people with the trolls I have after me day after day. It's like, God, these people are weirdos. I got a gang of weirdos that just, God, they're like leeches. Anyway, oh yeah, just how they do this stuff, you guys. This day, Justice Clarence Thomas asked the first question. Other highlights from opening day at the Supreme Court. It's like baseball, right? But look at the day they did this. It was the 104th day of his age. It was the 104th day of his age on 10-4. Roman Catholic Church is 104. A very special number. Remember what they did on October 4th? They put out the 10-4 emergency alert test, and they encoded all the way that showed us that something big was going down on October 7th. And sure enough. But anyway, that day, hold on. That day was the 277th day of the year as well, the 59th prime number. Again, just coming back to the same old thing: slave, Negro, blues, Rasta, all 59. Biden takes office with Obama, who they give the nickname Renegade, 59. And then he wins office and takes the first black woman to the Oval Office in the 59th election. Synced up with Pope Francis, who equals 59, who Benedict stepped down on the 59th day of the year for. Again, to remind that the number goes beyond race, too. Remember, Freemasonry equals 59. It's the 17th prime. Modern Freemasonry since 1717. This nation founded largely on slavery 59 years later. But yeah, it's not hard to see why Clarence Thomas is leading it off. And he is from Mobile, Alabama, where one of the nation's 27 Jesuit universities is. And again, he did go to Holy Cross, the Jesuit university where Fauci also went. Yeah. I mean, we've been covering Clarence Thomas for years, but all this stuff's just from just recent years. I mean, there's been a lot of focus on Clarence Thomas, and now he's hitting this highly symbolic number of 76. And again, they did Carl Weathers dirty at 76 to start Black History Month, and then they did O.J. Simpson and like maybe the dirtiest 76 ritual there ever was. And when you think O.J. Simpson, don't you think of a courtroom and a judge? So here, real quick, I'm curious. April 10th, another 10-4 date ends up being the day OJ dies. Um, Clarence Thomas going to turn 76 June 23rd. Well, isn't that something? It's 74 days. And if you're new here, there's a reason 3 of the first 5 presidents died on 7-4, and the 74th day of the year is to remember the killing of Caesar. Again, killing equals 74. And you might recall that Buffalo top shooting on May 14th on Israel's 74th birthday. It was 74 days from O.J. Simpson's birthday, who was 74 at the time. And again, killing equals 74, like gematria, like English, like energy, like there's the song Gematria, the killing name. Holiday equals 74, like Independence Day, going back to 3 of the first 5 presidents dying on 7-4. We were seeing that Clarence Thomas was starting to get some of that heat while he was 74 years old. It's funny that it's 10 weeks and 4 days as well. There's that 10-4 again. How weird. And remember what else they did with OJ. OJ dies right before the 105th NFL season, right? And Simpson's 105. And the face of the league right now, Mahomes, is born on the day, September 17th, which is the same day the NFL was born, but it's the day leaving 105 days left in the year. And his favorite target, Travis Kelce, his birthday's October 5th, 10-5. Now they're going to be going wild with the 105 this year. But yeah, I think the O.J. Simpson thing is connected to Clarence Thomas turning 76, especially how in this week, as we've already been talking about this, and how he better look out when he turns this age. How they just had on Juneteenth, they had to make this racial tension between him and Amy Coney Barrett. And by the way, his birthday, or I know what it is. The day that he became Supreme Court Justice. Check this out. He became Supreme Court Justice October 23rd, 1991. We were looking at that with the Alex Jones thing, how it's 138 days to his 33rd anniversary. Look at what day she became Supreme Court Justice. 4 days after that. 4 days, right? October 27th. Years later, of course, in 2020, many years later, but just the anniversary date is 4 days apart. And again, 4, that number connected to death. MLK, dead on the 4th day of the 4th month. Scalia, dead on the 44th day of the year in the time of 44. You know what I mean? Let me check the updated headlines real quick. They've increased the dead. They started with 2. Now it's up to 3. 3 dead, 10 wounded in Arkansas grocery store. And oh my God, CNN. All right, we're not going to read your article then, CNN. This town is on the 33rd parallel. I'm pretty sure that, let me see if I got that in my screenshot from my post. If I did, yeah, 33rd parallel, Fordyce. Order, secrecy, masonry, federal police, all 33, fraternal order of police. Again, all across this nation, the Masonic Lodge and the Police Lodge right next to each other. Literally in this town I live in, Little Prosser, Washington, the Masonic Lodge and the police station, all in the same building. I mean, it really, once you see it, it's like, wow. I see how this has been maintained. I get it. Bunch of secret societies at the founding. Capitol's named after the secret society. The other secret society that doesn't get talked about as long has been there longer than both of them, and they wrote the rights for the Scottish Rite. I see how it all comes together. The U.S. Constitution, Second Amendment. So listen just like to how simple it is and the spirit of it. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Now, we don't talk a whole lot about militias. It seems like anytime you hear the word, you think of Michigan, the Michigan militia. Somehow theirs is notorious. But again, it's because life's gotten so comfortable for us, right? We're like this world superpower. We feel untouchable. even though things aren't great, they're not that bad. Look, man, there's something good to eat, something cold to drink, and I like what's on this screen in front of me. Ooh, I like what's in this magazine. Look at those Hooters. You know what I mean? There's like why people are like, okay, at the end of the day, it's getting worse, man. Like, oh my, I don't want to talk about where society's going. The things going on right now, man. Sorry, I'm getting tangential in my mind. But yeah, part of the reason people don't recognize that they're ruled over by tyranny is because that's just been acted like that. The thought of that is just so you can't even comprehend it. Oh my God, you think we're ruled over by tyrants? We're the greatest, freest nation who saved the whole world from evil Hitler. You know, like people are walking around with that attitude. It's like, what about everything that's happened since the 1940s? Haven't we been like assassinating leaders all over and saying that we're doing this in the name of democracy, but we don't even really have a democracy here? It's like, I swear I voted for that guy because he said he's going to do this and he did the exact opposite. I guess I didn't really have that much control at the end of the day. And again, the other idea of democracy, if 51% want something and 49 want the other, the 49ers shit out of luck. And the other 51, they might have been the majority, but they might have had a really bad idea. And now you're all fucked for it. But yeah, again, if we did have a world where we had, well-regulated militias and people that had weaponry on tier with the government, which was also the spirit of the Second Amendment, because it was, again, the idea that if the tyrants have it, you need to have it too, so that you don't get ruled over. And again, even saying that loud, like if they have to start ruling that Americans can have tanks and fighter jets and bombs that can blow up cities, and be like, I don't think this is a good idea. I guess somewhere on our rules we got to write like there's a limit on the weapons. But hey, babe, that's the compromise. But see, this shit's never going to happen. But can you imagine the government's like, fine, we don't want you to have that, so we won't have that either, and then all the worlds agree. See, that's the idea of like where a new world order could be a cool thing, but it would never work out because once you get all that power over the world, man, you're just like. But yeah, that's the way it should be. Every government should agree to just get rid of their weapons or just take it down to something really simple, and everyone's allowed to have an AR-15. May the best AR-15 army win. See, the government's never going to do that though, because they're like, wait a minute, there's hardly any military and police compared to how many citizens there are. See, they want to have power over you. That's what the government really is. They just want to have power over you. Why can't you see that person? Why do you think your government is looking out for you? I mean, how come nobody's questioning anything in the age of all this technology and science? It's like everybody's dying from everything at younger and younger ages. I've been the crackpot because I've been pointing out how they etched in stone. I've been talking about the Georgia Guidestones since way before almost anybody even heard about them. These are things that you learn about when you start really looking into things. That's why in 2013, it was once I saw Janet Napolitano talking about the next 9/11's not if but when, and it's the power grid going out for a significant period of time. I'm like, that's the one way that could be what this Deagle report is about. This huge population drop off. They got something planned, but yeah, again, if you had a society that was about like having good neighbors and good community and good defenses from tyranny and evil. See, okay, I got to tell you something about Sweet Lady. Sweet Lady's from Burma with the longest ongoing civil war, and it's all over religion because you got Buddhists, Muslims, and Christians all in this little country. And the latest edition is Christianity. Sweet Lady happens to come from the area colonized by Christians. And of course, that was on behalf of the church. And again, Burma's government was set up on the Jesuit order anniversary. But anyway, what I'm saying is what's interesting about the part she's from, the Christian part, they're also like the most heavily armed part in terms of like households and individuals. They have their own little rebel army. It's kind of like this. And I was thinking about that. I was like, that's interesting. That's like Christian and heavily armed. It reminds me of like the founding of America. It's kind of weird. But in a way, you also see that it's just caused more of a problem there because everyone's just, again, they have the longest ongoing civil war in the world. But it is all funny. And if you guys weren't here, if you go back to my Twitter and you look at my post that's posted in the opening seconds of January 1st, 2021, I said, sadly, there's a major war ritual coming. I showed how war equals 21, like evil, like Jesuit, and the list goes on. And you guys remember when the military overthrew its government in Burma, creating way more chaos. And it's still, even though they don't cover it in the news, remember for a while it was the big focus, what was going on in Burma. It's even crazier there now than it was, but they know that the American people need something new to talk about. They can't stay focused on an issue. It's not how it works in the United States of amnesia. They got to blow your mind away so you can't remember anything past Monday. But remember, Captain Tom of the Burma campaign dropped dead the day after Burma's government fell too, and that was 201 days after the Queen knighted him, and he died 56 days after the first vaccinated person in the world, Maggie Keenan, whose name equals 56, like Burma campaign. And George Orwell's first book is about the Burma campaign, and the first number in the book is right at the beginning, and it's number 56. Anyway, again, they just want to destroy any possibility of this. I mean, it really does almost feel like a pipe dream at this point, doesn't it? That the American people would come together and defend themselves and overthrow this tyranny. It really does seem like a pipe dream. I just got to hope at some point the pipe dream does come true. So I keep pushing every day, because the way I see it is it's deep in the game, and we do have a big losing score right now, but I'm not going out like a punk. I'm not going out saying I did nothing, especially now I got a little one on the way. Now you got to fight twice as hard. So it just kills me, man. I always want to relive this fantasy scenario in my mind that after we went across the country, that support like doubled, tripled, got way bigger. Finally, we could do what we needed to do after we went from Seattle to New York. But instead, I went right in half, which I still just can't even believe that happened. But I just imagine if we had resources. I was saying back then how if we can keep things moving, 2024, we can be out everywhere all the time, making sure we're waking people up to how rigged this political election is, how rigged the whole game is. Imagine had it been like Team GematriaEffectNews out in front of all the finals games, showing them how they're rigging it up, syncing up with Trump and Biden, Joe Celtic Biden, who John Havlicek died. I mean, just everything, how perfect it was, you guys. It's sick how the Celtics came into the series 46-40 versus the Mavs when Celtics equals 40, going with Biden 46, and then John Havlicek's son dies, and John Havlicek died years ago, 46 days after Biden's birthday, back when he was in his 46th year of life. That means John Havlicek was literally sacrificed way back then for Joe Biden's scripted-ass career all these years later. And for all of you, how come Zach doesn't talk that Joe Biden's a clone and that's not even the same Joe Biden? You guys, I don't talk about things like that because I don't know it, but is it possible? Is it possible the real Joe Biden's dead and now it's the clone Joe Biden out there to make sure the ritual's ensured? I mean, I remember my fifth grade teacher, Mr. Moody, was telling us that he was sure the Nazis learned to clone people. I still have never found any hard evidence in the world that cloning's a real thing. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I just don't spend my time talking about those things because I don't have any proof. There's so many people on YouTube that make big claims that have no proof, and the only reason they get followings and support is because other people are dumb enough to not see that they just came up with a bullshit-ass statement or theory with absolutely nothing behind it. And sadly, we live in a world where more people will go for stuff like that than what I've done, which is research every single day for over a decade to prove my point in stone and then some. But yeah, these things aren't an accident, you guys. They are not an accident. It's all high ritual. Shout out to John Mendoza again, always with the generosity. He says, imagine if we lived in the days of the Wild West. I'd rather live in them. It'd be a lot more interesting life. There'd be a lot less obese people dying from needless disease and illness from a poor lifestyle and all the wrong processed foods in their mouth their whole life. Yeah, you'd actually have to go out and live. I agree. But what's the game people play? The Western game from the Grand Theft Auto guys? People want that. Isn't that like one of the best-selling video games of all time? That's because people secretly, they really want to have that lifestyle. Not this very condensed, homogenized lifestyle where you all go through the same slave school and learn the same things and then go get your little job and then pay your bills and go back to your apartment and drive to work in your little car and make your payments. Again, that's the world they set up for us. Wild West, there's freedom. It's like, what am I going to do today? There's a bounty on the board. I don't like sorry-ass motherfuckers, and I've been working on my pistol work. I'm going to go pick up the real bounty today. You know what I mean? People are living it out. And what's the game called? Red Dead Redemption? Almighty GI says, Hunter Robert Goodman plays DC team today. Funny. You know that last name, Goodman. Hunter Robert Goodman, huh? Okay. Soler hit 93rd away home run that game, born 56 day. And remember, Jorge Soler jacked the ball out of the park on the 42nd pitch in the decisive game of the 117th World Series for the Braves. And his full name equals 365, like the days in the year dictated by the sun or the Soler. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and again, the sun's 93 million miles away on average, too, right? I missed that. It's I mean, here, let me show you guys Jorge Soler's full name so we can really appreciate what they've done here on the 93rd day of the season in the Willie Mays game after he dies days before it at 93. Hold up, let me pull up this guy's full name. Jorge Carlos Soler Castillo. We had the live call on why he was going to hit the home run on the 42nd pitch, a few pitches before it happened. His full name, there it is, boom, 365. 365. Also 283, which is the 61st prime, 61 is the 18th prime. Baseball's all about the 18. 103 is the 27th prime, another big MLB number. But yeah, Soler, sun, 365 days in the year, dictated by the sun. Sun again, 93 million miles away on average. Are you saying is that? I don't. You know what's funny? I don't even know what team he's on now. Is he on the Cardinals? Or hold up, Baseball Reference. Here's the way to do it. This website. You can see his last game and what his stats are. So today's 117 days after his birthday. Oh, he's on the Giants now. Oh God, he went from the Hank Aaron team to the Willie Mays team. That's crazy, you guys, because yesterday would have been 116 days after his birthday, or yesterday would have been his 117th day of his age. Major League Baseball's 117. Truist Park is 117. He did that ritual the year the Braves won the 117th World Series playing in Truist Park. So the way Baseball Reference shows the birthday is the days after. So like today's the day after he did it. It shows today's 117 days after his birthday, which is true. Today would also be his 118th day of his age. Yesterday would have been his 117th day of his age. You got to love that he plays for the Giants and is born on the 25th as well. That's the hard Giants number. They lost 2-5 the day Willie Mays died. Death equals 25 and 38. They picked up their 38th loss of the season. But Soler, it looks like he got his 179th home run, the 41st prime. There was a 41 theme yesterday in the news, too. We were talking about that. What'd you say the 93 was? So you can't see that on here. You can't see his away home runs. You got to go to StatMuse and you got to write in Jorge Soler career. You can just write HRs for home runs on the road. And then you got to trust that StatMuse is right. Usually they are, I think. Sometimes their stats are messed up, though. Yeah, he got his 93rd. So that's not including the postseason, but he got his 93rd. That's sick, man. It was the 93rd day of the season. Willie Mays just died at 93. We just talked about, and this is the point we were making at the end of the 117th World Series. I mean, I was just saying, see, you guys, see how scripted it is? This tribute to the sun. And now it's years later. And that was after Hank Aaron died. Hank Aaron and Willie Mays, they both had him play till 42. If the Giants get swept by the Cardinals, they are going to get their 42nd loss. And remember, the Cardinals are in Missouri, like the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Chiefs became 4-2 in Super Bowls on the 42nd day of the year, beating the San Francisco team, the 49ers. And 49ers has that gematria 42. And again, Mahomes comes from a baseball family, and Mahomes' rookie season as the starter. The Royals, the baseball team in Kansas City, they went 58 and 104. Like last year, Mahomes won Super Bowl 58, the 104th NFL season, keeping Andy Reid on 58 losses with the Chiefs, advancing to over Baltimore in the AFC Championship as Baltimore became 5-8 versus the Chiefs. And again, Kansas City started on the wild card, becoming 5-8 in that round. Just all these rituals. And don't forget the word star equals 58, nor does Kobe Bryant 58, star 58. Kobe dead on a Sunday. Again, all coming back to the sun, the Catholic Church. Come on, man. Jorge Soler. This is good catch, Tachi. I guess I got to start looking at guys' home runs on the road. Yeah, that would have been a swell little bet. So, but yeah, that's why I like the Itachis of the world. Say what you will about Itachi. There's all kinds of things that drive me nuts about Itachi, but he does a good job of using the knowledge and doing additional research, things I'm not looking at. He knows how to use his own mind without copying people. and he makes great observations that are just right in line with exactly what we've been talking about forever. And again, I prefer when people have awesome finds that make what we've been showing undeniable, rather than trying to constantly introduce a new wide idea. Look, I found this one time for one time after 8 years of research. This could be the pinnacle number. There's certain decoders like that in this community. It's like, really, you think this one find after all these years is going to be the new top thing? Maybe there's something not right with your mind. So again, we know Itachi went to a top end school. He's a smart guy, and that's a great find right there. That really does again just demonstrate how perfectly scripted all is. Go back and listen to what I was talking about years ago with this guy on the Braves and Hank Aaron, and now look at him do it with Willie Mays. This stuff is ice cold. Been teaching about 93 and the sun and Saturn since I got here. Those were some of the first things I figured out when I began, how important that 93 was. Why MLK and Malcolm X only met one time ever on a 93 date numerology. March 26, 64. Both of their names given to them equal 93. Both die at 39. These numbers have a lot to do with the Old Testament and a lot of people's opinions. I guess everything in the Bible is really opinion, but a lot of opinions based on research and evidence, including yours truly. It looks like the original people in the Old Testament look a lot more like Willie Mays and Hank Aaron, from what I can tell, from what I've gathered. And there's a reason they keep killing these people and paying tribute to these things from the Bible. They say it's all astrotheology too. And if they're killing these people through the stuff that's going on with the stars, and we're calling people stars on Earth, and if you've read the first chapter of my book, Letters and Numbers, again, it talks about, again, really, if you've never read the first chapter of my first book, the 26s will blow you away. I mean, I ended that chapter talking about Kobe and Jordan in 26, and this is years before Kobe died on the 26th. Jordan equals 26, like Bryant, like athlete, like game, like God, like man's made in the 26th verse, and God and Adam are 26. Kobe dies on the anniversary of Bear Bryant. Then back then I was just learning reverse. I didn't talk as much about Bryant as 37, but Bryant the other way is 37. Kobe dies on the 37th anniversary of Bear Bryant on the 26th day of the year. I mean, come on. Synced up with the Pope and Catholic Mass. You got corny people in the world trying to say it doesn't have anything to do with the Catholics or the Jesuits. Wild. I mean, almost every guy on the pro sports stage went to a Catholic or Jesuit high school, and sports are controlling the minds of the masses. So you really want to say you don't think the Catholics and Jesuits have anything to do with it? They're behind almost every idol that everyone has in this world. The things actually mind controlling people. People are into celebrity worship and materialism and entertainment. It's way more fun. But yeah, great find, Itachi. I might have to note that one down. Thank you. BPST3 says the psychological programming amongst the society will never cease to amaze. Yeah. Yeah. We got to change it, though. I mean, that's what I'm trying to figure out. How do you get information in a way that it can break people's mind control? Now, I know that my work has some success. There's a lot of people who said my work's the thing that woke them up. I mean, we've heard that a million times over the years. Well, not quite a million, but a lot. And I always tell people when they call in and say that, I always say, well, really, you woke yourself up, but thank you for choosing to listen. And I'm glad my information was the breakthrough. But we know that doesn't work for everybody. I still can't get my sister to talk about this. I can't get my own family. She's the only person in my family I can't get to talk about it, but she's just so hard-headed, she won't even talk about it. There's people like her. How do you reach a person like her? Maybe you can't. There's a lot of people that just seem unreachable. We got to figure out how to reach those people. Those people are making a difference. My sister, man, she's got to be a special case. It's crazy how much she changed. She's like making fun of my mom because my mom told her that she doesn't think Joe Biden's mind's right to be president. My sister thought that was a laughable statement. It's like, I mean, have you seen the evidence? Have you heard the guy speaking? They did have him all revved up, though, for the State of the Union. You know, they had him on the juice. They said he lived up to the hype. They said he was going to be fired up. He was. It was Joe Biden's best moment as president. He didn't stumble that many times, but he still stumbled a lot. But he gets mulligans, right? Because he's an old man. But exactly, it's like, why would you want that to be your leader? A man who's far from his prime. If we can only have one leader, I think it's probably important that an old man, you know, say, hey, I got to give up the reins. I got to let somebody in a better mind. This is an important position. It can't be so much about my ego. But we're talking about Joe Biden, who sacrificed his wife and daughter back in 72, and then his son when he was 72 years old, because he's part of this Jesuit gang in Jesuit Order 72. And again, that's why we got the first Jesuit Pope on the 72nd day of the year. And by the way, with regards to the first Jesuit Pope, think about when his wife and daughter died, Joe Biden, back in 72. He died, or they died the day after the Pope's birthday, the sitting Pope right now. Pope Francis' birthday is December 17th, the first day of Saturnalia. Saturn's connected to death and judgment. So I like to do the Saturn rituals with the judges too. But yeah, his wife and daughter died December 18th, the day after the Pope's birthday. The Pope would have been 36 years old. He was born in 36. That's interesting because IHS equals 36, the letters in the Jesuit acronym. Pope, born December 17th, 1936. December 18th, 72, would have been one day after his 36th birthday. And again, these guys being groomed for this world stage, for this moment, for this whole time, to be inserted. So the way they align, just like how Pope Francis and Donald Trump were so perfectly in alignment. Both men from this Jesuit education system. And again, imagine that. So many people on the world stage are probably chosen at a young age, and they're likely chosen because they were in these Jesuit education systems. And they probably saw, if there are planned out scripts long in advance, which so it seems. Again, remember in the UK, they were hinting about this in the show The Newsbenders in a 1968 episode about a person being hired to write the news for 5 years from now for a news agency. And when he gets this job offer, he's just mind blown that this position even exists. And the guy's like, here, let me tell you what you've been missing out on about the future of news and how planned out it is. And I love that it's from 1968, the year that all these agendas went into motion. Because, like I've been saying, man, it seems like they wrote 9/11/2001 when they before they even had those buildings up in 68. So. Shout out to Oscar Garcia. Thank you again, Oscar. Again, thank you again to John Mendoza, Itachi, and BPST3. Before I go, we'll read a little bit more about the. I'm tempted to look into this thing they're doing with the Hajj pilgrimage. They're saying these people were killed because of 120-degree temperatures. In the Bible, I forget what verse it is. I should look up what verse that is, where your age gets limited at 120 years. Man is not to live past 120. Remember, it's interesting because in Gematria, Illuminati equals 120. Again, a real thing, founded by a real person, a Jesuit named Adam Weishaupt, May 1st, 1776. Oh my God, CNN's killing me. That's how I got derailed last time. I was going to look this up, but I was like, I got to go somewhere else. Arkansas shooting. Maybe there's something to think about with Arkansas too, because that's that other Jesuits state. The 42nd president, gun 42, ammo 42. When he was in office, that's when Joe Biden got his crime bill through and the assault weapons ban. Yeah, I bet there's something about Bill Clinton with this. Bill Clinton's got the August 19th birthday. Again, he was the 42nd governor of Arkansas. Arkansas equals 42 as well. Before he became the 42nd president. Remember, they called Bill Clinton the first black president. And isn't it funny how they did that when he was 42 and he was a white guy? Him, Bush, and Trump, all born in 46. He's the youngest of them. Bush will turn 78 July 6th, and then Clinton August 19th. But it's funny how the youngest one was the first one in there. It went in reverse order of age. The oldest of them, Trump, went in last. Clinton, Bush, then Obama, but then Trump. All these guys born in 46. And remember, Bill Clinton, his biological father, was found dead on the side of a ditch before he was even born. And then his mom married into the New York political dynasty, the Clinton family. And then right when he becomes president, the bombs go off in New York. And he stops the underground weapons testing program that came out of the Manhattan Project. And then what happened right when he left office? The Skull and Bones guy coming in. Hold up. August 19th, 2023 to Yeah, today. Hmm. It's 307 days later. That's the 63rd prime number. There's this major theme recently with a lot of 63s in the basketball championship, which we've been talking about. Um, Again, JFK killed in Dallas in 63. We're talking about how they did this 214 days from Joe Biden's birthday, and that's the Dallas area code 214. If you counted the span of days, you could also say it's exactly 44 weeks into his age. Shooting number. Shooting is 44. I mean, that really, in terms of how I've historically always talked about shootings, if you haven't read my first book, Letters and Numbers, I introduce how 44 is the shooting number. So, yeah, I don't think that's an accident. Exactly 44 weeks. And remember, Clinton was in office when Columbine happened, which really gave a whole new focus and concern to uh, school shootings and what should be done about it. And again, I was in high school when Columbine happened, and we adopted a new policy in Washington State. After that, we had an assembly, and the new policy was everyone had to wear a name badge at school. And I thought that was dumb because I thought, okay, almost everyone knows my name, including all the security guards. And that's true for a lot of us here that we know who we are. And I mean, if we have a name badge on, what that's going to save us if a crazy shooter comes to the school? What? And then they assign detention if you didn't wear your name badge. I mean, just like unnecessary consequence for stupid, unnecessary policy that's just going to cost money too, because they got to print out name badges for everybody, taxpayer dollars, just wasted on a symbolic, empty, stupid thing. So maybe as a kid, it plants the seed more about the shooting, so you don't forget about it, and then you see the agenda they got planned for you after you graduate from slave school with shooting after shooting after shooting until you don't have any rights and liberties anymore that you learned about that you used to have back in the time of slave school. Um, Funny enough, today is also 59 days before Clinton's birthday. And isn't that weird? Because what's John F. Kennedy equal? The name that he's commonly written down as. Again, it's not me just adding the F thing. I mean, that's how his name goes almost everywhere. John F. Kennedy, 59. And then Biden wins the 59th election and becomes number 46, like he's killed at 46. So yeah, go figure. 307 days after Clinton's last birthday, the 63rd prime. Again, JFK killed in 63. 59 days before his upcoming birthday. Arkansas, not too far from Texas. The whole thing with the Second Amendment too, right? The Second Amendment. Yeah, this guy majorly infringed on the Second Amendment. It's all making so much more sense to me. Second Amendment 59. Oh my God, these people, man. The first black president, too, in light of just 42, 59. If you've read my first book, Letters and Numbers, I have the chapter on how they always bring the 42 and 59 together in black history. Again, like Motown in 59, Detroit on the 42nd parallel, where Motown is. Motown Records came out in 1959. Black History Month ends on the 59th day of the year. February equals 42. And just a million different ways they bring it together with ritual. Like even today, the 42nd president, 59 days from his birthday. Again, 42 has to do with race too, right? Like slavery we were talking about, but also gun. Slavery 42, gun 42. And now the Dave Chappelle, or was it? It was the Chris Rock joke, actually. Chris Rock said the joke about how they should just make bullets expensive, and now ammunition's super expensive. I mean, you want to be well stocked on ammo, you better have a good job. Otherwise, you better like just learn to eat ramen noodles if you want to afford bullets. I mean, you used to be able to buy 1,000 bullets back in the day for probably $50 or less. You want 1,000 bullets in Washington State right now? It's gonna be $1,000. It might be $1,200. Depends on what he's got in stock. Yeah, a lot of people don't have $1,000. I mean, you don't necessarily need 1,000 rounds, but hell, if you end up going to war with your government, which actually was something that the founders laid out for you. In fact, Thomas Jefferson said there'd have to be a revolution every 19 years to preserve liberty. Again, now you see, we haven't been a revolution in 19. There's been a lot more, 19 times how many years has there been a revolution? But again, COVID-19, you didn't get it. 19 years after 9/11, the 19 hijackers, they said there was a war on terror, but really it was mostly a war on your rights and liberties. And remember after January 6th, Bush came out and he said the new war on terrorism is on domestic terrorism. as they turn the focus of all these new laws they've been creating that have just been on the books but not really enforced for all these decades now. Again, look into the laws of the United States, guys. It's been this way since largely after 9/11. I mean, you're in a nation now where you can have no rights as a citizen if the government deems you a terrorist. That's the way the law is right now. I don't know how many people that's happened to in the United States. Again, they have the right to detain anybody for as long as need be. And if they deem them a terrorist, they don't have to notify anybody that they've been detained. That is the law of the land right now. It's been that way for a long time. These are the things I was freaking out about way before I knew Gematria. I was like, this is getting crazy. They can now say somebody's a terrorist and take them away and not notify anybody. They have a family. They're going to be looking for them all over. What happened to them? They just disappeared. And, you know, I mean, there are a lot of stats about a lot of people disappearing, aren't there? Sometimes they put those numbers on TV. I'm like, are they playing with us? Did really that many people disappear in the last year? That's a lot of people. Supposedly most of them are at national parks, but it's like, what's going on? I know there are animals in the parks, but I don't know. That's a lot of people not asking enough questions. And when not enough people ask questions, it's hard to get any answers because the media is not just listening to little old Zachary K. Hubbard. You guys hear how it is when I call in? I'm like, hi, you know, I'm an author. I never get a call back. They're like, sorry, we only take calls from John Grisham. And sadly, that's the world we live in. And people really only want to hear from John Grisham. They're like, who, a YouTuber with letters and numbers? That sounds dumb. Put the John Grisham wants to kill a few more justices on TV. He said about the book about get some justice. I want to hear that. That's how it is. It's like, oh, okay. What did the Georgia Guidestones say? Can I join the I'm joking, you guys. I would never join, but sometimes I think like, I almost wish I could take it over and just get on with the plan. I don't like that they etched it in stone 40 years ago and haven't done shit about it. Actually, it was 44 years ago now those things were put up. March 22nd, 1980, and Georgia equals 44, and it's the fourth state, and 44 and 4 numbers of death, and it's MLK's home state. And again, you got Joe Biden in there. Oh, my. It's just like, we'll see what's about to happen. 44 is a huge death and military number. All this hysteria, rumors of war. That's the one place I am right now. I'm like, is it forever just going to be mind fuckery with endless number rituals? Are they actually going to like set this thing off someday and really get the Earth's population down to 500 million? Because again, if you can't do the math on that, they say there's about 8 billion people right now. The Georgia Guidestones and a number of other things have called for the world's population to be in balance at 500 million. Bill Gates has talked about how a number could have to drastically reduce to get to zero emissions. And he said that could be in the population category. Again, he talked about this in 2010 at his TED Talk, 2010, Innovating to Zero. He said, here's carbon, here's this, here's human population. He's like, one of these has to go close to zero, including possibly population. Oh, man. If I remember right, Bill Gates' father, who was into eugenics, died 322 days after Bill Gates' birthday. I'm pretty sure that is how it went down. I have to go back and double check that. Something about that, though. Again, Bill Gates is always doing nice things for the Africans, testing all of his new stuff over there. He's got the mosquito nets where you can get eaten alive and see if the new genetically modified mosquitoes turn you into a zombie. Bill Gates is doing great things for the black people in Africa. From a proud family behind the eugenics movement, which has a lot to do with abortion. His dad died on the anniversary of, was it the birthday or the death of the founder of Planned Parenthood? And again, when he came along, he was one of the people that really pushed Planned Parenthood all over the place with some major funding. Interesting. Okay. This 8-year-old that's going to be the tallest college basketball player. Oh my God, I can't handle it. Oh my God. I'm so out of my element without God. I can't believe CNN is trying to charge for their articles. I mean, isn't that just going to bring less attention to them? The reason I stay on top of CNN, you guys, is because I hate this news network more than any other. They're all awful. But CNN, I know that CNN is a worldwide leader in propaganda, literally. Because again, if you look into 9/11, that's really where my research began. CNN is who broke the footage of the planes going through the buildings. And going through the buildings is not me wording it wrong. And actually, planes, the plural was. CNN broke the footage of the first plane hitting the tower. And if you've never seen that footage, you should actually look into it because it'll make you question how contrived, how Hollywood the image was, since the plane literally comes out the other side of the building with its nose in front completely intact, like it was untouched. And again, a plane can fly through a steel and concrete building and come out the other side. But then if you haven't seen it, look it up. I'm not lying. This is 1,000,000% facts. It then cuts to a black screen for a while, like when the news will cut and it'll just like flash black for a second, for a little bit, and then it comes back because they realize they fucked up with their contrived image. They're like, oh shit, what? That wasn't supposed to happen. Again, the plane comes all the way out the other side. And what did go off in that building that day were bombs all over the place. It's a massive explosion outwards. The building flies outwards as you see the graphical plane, which, of course, as time's gone on, they fixed that image and they don't show that original footage. But look, the original footage was that. It was a plane flying through the building. The very first video released was a mistake. Look it up. God, this is what drives me nuts. It's 2024, and most of America doesn't know this in the internet age. It's not some edited video to fake you out. It's exactly how the news broadcast was. And since that video got syndicated, you can watch it on multiple networks when it was played. Watch the syndicated version on Fox News. I've watched and talked about these things so many times. I know this shit like the back of my hand. On Fox News, the guy goes, wow, we literally saw the plane come out the other side of the building. Yeah, it's like, oh, yeah, there's something seriously wrong with the way it just came out, like flying through untouched, like it didn't even get slowed down in the nose. I mean, hey, oh my God. Don't forget they simulated 9/11 on June 1st, 2001, 102 days before the attack went down, when Al Qaeda equals 102, like Art of War, like World War, like Pearl Harbor was synced up with the Japanese emperor in a big 102 ritual. Again, the Jesuits have been in Japan longer than the United States has even existed. The Jesuits are very influenced by the East. The Sun Tzu Art of War. In Art of War 102. You got to read Art of War is a book that I should probably get in the habit of reading at least a few times a year, because it's just like there's a lot to really think about. It's kind of like the Hermetic Principles. It's not real long to read, but there's a lot to think about. But again, it says it in a number of different ways. Like the way to win the war is to essentially deceive and trick your opponent. It's better to win the war without even having to fight the war. And I think about that with the control of screens and like what looks like what's really going on in Russia, Ukraine, which is the theater of war, but it's costing us a lot of money and taxpayer dollars, and it's enriching people and diminishing the quality of life for our future. Because again, the way to interpret that is, listen, when you have to pay taxes and as time goes on, you get more and more debt and more of that debt, which means the tax money you pay just goes to paying interest on the debt. That means you're getting almost nothing back for your tax money at some point. You're just paying for the projects of decades and lifetimes past. And you look at all these big bills, they were like literally all things that were avoidable. These wars that were totally contrived, this pandemic that was simulated the day of the military world games that comes from the Jesuit order, and it was the same day the military world games again in Wuhan. I mean, it's like we're just getting uppercut after uppercut from this Jesuit cabal, and you got little snakes in the grass who don't care because it's just, you got a whole society of people that just don't care. And I think someday, sadly, there are going to be some consequences. I think what they did etch in stone, they do plan to do it someday. It's just when. And how far away is that? Is it in our lifetime? Is it still a ways off? Are they going to do it on the 100th anniversary of tearing down the Georgia Guidestones when all of us are dead and gone and nobody surely remembers those things? I mean, these people work so slow, it could be like that. But that's also why you got to speak out, Someday that time might be actually coming. It might not be now. Hopefully not. But maybe in 100 years, they'll watch the video and they're like, did you know they did this? And we're coming up on the anniversary? Well, this shit's crazy. How come this wasn't in our history book in our 13 years of slave school? They'll be asking in the year 2124. This was out there all this time. It's just like all these other great researchers who put all this information out and never made it into slave school. It's like, why didn't we hear about this? Seems like there should have been some time for this. Shout out to Eric Bradford. They said the 12th moon and 18th day leaves one moon and 10 days. This got to be the man in that's got to be the man in Cleveland. Is that your name, man in Cleveland? Only he would leave a comment like this. The 12th moon and 18th day leaves one moon and 10 days left on the 13 moon calendar. President equals 110. Interesting. He's making the point about when Joe Biden's wife and daughter died. Remember, they died December 18th. And remember, that was the 47th U.S. presidential election the year he became senator. 47, just like how he was in D.C. for 47 years before becoming president-elect, and he took office as the 47th vice president with 47-year-old Obama. And again, president, White House, government authority, Republican, Democrat, D.C., Vatican, all these things that have to do with authority, 47. News, 47. Cop, 47. Policeman, 47. The list goes on. Christian, 47. The authorities swearing in on the Bible. All these things made by man to control man is the way I see it. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the Bible is very much a lot more of man than it is of God. I'm pretty sure God is in us, and that's why we have like self-regulating systems and a conscience, and we all understand this, the idea of on our shoulder we got the devil and an angel, or the devil and God, and it's a battle in the human flesh. But Anyway, wicked people like Joe Biden, they've been persuaded into going to that. They've been listening to the devil too much. To your wife and daughter, Joe. You can always get new ones. You're a young man. I don't know if it's like that. I don't know if it's like that even Joe Biden made the choice. Joe Biden might have already been thrown in some CIA MK thing, and you know what I mean? For the troll out there who keeps using MK Ultra the wrong way, again, MK Ultra mind control program. Not There's a guy out there trying to say that the phrase truth seeker comes from MK Ultra. It's like, I haven't heard anything about that. Please stop. Some of these people in government, though, the ones that have been tweaking out and glitching, the Nancy Pelosi's, the Joe Bidens, the Mitch McConnells, the Britney Spears, the Eminems, all these people on the world stage, they've had these weird on TV moments where they just like seem to malfunction, like they were a computer breaking down, having a meltdown, a bug in the system. I mean, I don't know what to say about that, but yeah, that's another thing that just people need to look more into. And you look more into MK Ultra, you'll find out that 201's all over it, just like it's all over the Jesuits, just like it's all over the CIA and its establishment on the 201st day of the Pope's age, way back in 1947. Oh man, it's funny how the same numbers have just come up over and over. John Mendoza says, check out Zone of Death. Now, I'm glad you brought this up because I know that I've looked at this before because it's in my mind somewhere. It's like, sounds familiar. Zone of Death. We've looked into this, but I'm forgetting right now what it is. There's a lot of gems from the past I've forgotten. All you guys who think that I have a good memory, you have no idea how much I forgot. Way too much. Is this it, John? Because this isn't actually what I was thinking of. I was thinking of something else. Zone of Death. Is this it? 50 square mile area in Idaho in a section of Yellowstone National Park. Maybe you brought this up because we talked about supposedly all the missing people that are happening each year, especially in national parks. You know what's creepy about this? Wyoming is the 44th state, you guys. Wyoming is the 44th state. Again, kill 44, execution 44, deadly number. The shooting in Arkansas today, 44 weeks into Bill Clinton's age. Bill Clinton joined the federal government right after Clarence Thomas on the Supreme Court. I bet those guys had I'll have to go back and look for some headlines with Bill Clinton and Clarence Thomas. Oh, you know what? The other parallel with Bill Clinton and Clarence Thomas is what? Remember, they had to shame Clarence Thomas when he came on the Supreme Court. He had to have that whole sex scandal with, what was her name, Anita Hill? The accusations, the affair. Yeah, they did that too to Clarence. They had to bring the stereotypes in. See, all these black men are over-sexualized. They can't control themselves. Should he go on the Supreme Court? They had to do all that. And then they paid tribute to it perfectly with Brett Kavanaugh. Brett Kavanaugh versus Christine Blasey Ford, and they even got a little tribute to Gerald Ford in there. And, of course, all these people are Jesuit educated. That's funny about all these cast of characters. They all went to Jesuit schools. And Jesuits are very exclusive schools where mostly wealthy people go to school. And there is a wealthy ruling class, and Trump's part of it, and he's Jesuit educated, just like Biden. Again, you don't want to be some dum-dum in the world and your videos on the internet forever trying to downplay my work when you're just going to look like an asshole throughout history. Like, man, that moron said that in 2024? Wow, that guy must have been really dumb. Was that what you were talking about, John? Let me put my eyes back on the chat. Was Jonathan talking about the zone of death in Wyoming? Because if not, I actually hadn't heard of that before. Am I taking calls? Kanye West had the song about premeditated murder, and the cover was Wyoming. I didn't know about that. Interesting. I wasn't planning on taking any calls, but I can if people want to add. I can drop the link in the chat. That really is the best way to join the stream because we get the best audio quality. You don't have to put your mic on, but these days when you click on StreamYard, it'll ask you like join through Google, Facebook, blah, blah, blah. It's pretty seamless to connect to the program that way if you don't mind, if you've never done it. But then when you get in there, what happens is you go in the back room. They call it the back room. And I can see that you're in the room and then I can add you to the stream. But you get the choice of if you want your camera to show or not. If you don't want it to show, just say turn camera off, turn mic on. Only your mic has to be on, obviously, or nobody hears you. So I just dropped the link in the chat. If you want to join the stream, you can join that way. Yeah, I am losing my voice. I need more water. All right, we got somebody who wants to hop in. Welcome.
How you doing?
Doing well, thank you.
Hey, quick question. I heard you talk about the hold on, give me 1 second. This motherfucker about to hit me. But yeah, I heard you talk about the whole 500 million thing. Don't you think that's already underway? I mean, they just had the whole world take a untested vaccine. I mean, don't you think the
just to answer your question, yeah, absolutely. And that's the point I'm making because again, a lot of things went into motion in 1968 for population control. They were having big meetings about that. And then there's been major wars since then in the world. Abortion's become a much more popular thing. They're promoting homosexuality, which means you're not going to procreate. What you just brought up, I've been making the point about how if you trace all these things, they all go back to the Jesuits and they're all about population control. And what else is wild is you learn this, they all have the number 201 encoded on them. And a very important book in 1968 was The Population Bomb, which just happens to be 201 pages long and was written by a Yale professor. So yeah, this has been going on. It's just it can get a lot worse. Is there going to be some climax where a lot of people fall off very fast rather than kind of the slow, steady kill that they've been doing to us?
I think it's definitely the slow and steady kill because it wouldn't make sense that everybody, just started dropping like flies that quick. I think like how they've always done it, it's always been a slow and steady death. How everything that they have in place for us is always a slow and steady death. Like from the food industry, all of that shit is not to kill you immediately; it's to kill you over time. And me and my buddy were just talking about this the other day. We feel as if the COVID-19. Sorry that I said the whole word. That might get the video down, but we were talking about how the vaccine is definitely some type of ticking bomb, in your system, because it wouldn't make sense for them to, throw out a vaccine and then.
Here. Just to keep things real simple, the thing that they told you that it was a spike protein. And again, just to make you guys, when you think of a spike, do you think of something nice? Do you want to sit on a spike? Do you want to get hit by a baseball bat? Of course not. Do you want to get hit by a baseball bat that has spikes on it? Absolutely not. You're going to die. A spike is like a violent thing. It's a weapon. And who produced this jab? The military. None of these things are an accident, just like how, again, the simulation Event 201 was put on by a Jesuit, Klaus Schwab, the day the Jesuit military world games began in Wuhan 1 month before the outbreak. You guys, when they put out the jab for the child, that came from the military base as well. The same one in Michigan where everybody got the initial jabs from. And keep in mind, Michigan has that Gematria 44, like Pfizer, like kill, like execution, like Seattle, big number connected to Bill Gates, the guy who 10 years before said this needed to happen and pointed out how we could do a good job reducing the population if we did a good job with those things that look just like the Space Needle across the street from his foundation. But yeah, again, I can tell you're newer to my work, but this is the point I've been making, that there's been an agenda long in motion. But hold on, I want to make sure what I heard you say back, that, yeah, I think they're doing the slow and steady kill. No doubt that's what they've been doing. But do you think it's possible that they have a much more severe moment planned for society that's going to result in a lot of rapid deaths that gets them a lot closer to the 500 million number a lot faster? Or do you not see that happening? Do you just see them enforcing policies over time that eventually just knock out enough people that they arrive at their goal? Is that, just to clarify what you're saying?
I mean, Zach, I mean, there's so many agendas in place to reduce the population. I mean, the transgender agenda, the gay agenda, uh, abortion. There's so many agendas that they have in place to reduce the population. It's not just one agenda, and I feel like the vaccine was probably one of the biggest, because that was the only way for them to really reach the whole world is through a vaccine, because they're preparing everybody for another thing. They're preparing everybody for this fake alien invasion. I mean, that's always been the number one national security breach in the US is an alien invasion, you know? It is not a coincidence that throughout the whole fucking Super Bowl, there was all these fucking alien invasion commercials, but yeah, I definitely think it's the slow and steady way, and it's already been in place. I mean, it really started with Obama. They used a black president to, to push the gay marriage shit. Um, started with Obama with the gay shit. Um, and yeah, and then here we are. I think they are waiting for a specific day, a specific event, like you said. God knows when that day is, but yeah, it's always been about the alien invasion. That it's always been about that. I feel like that's the only thing big they have planned is the alien invasion. That's what's coming.
Two thoughts about the alien invasion. Again, for people who don't know, again, in 1947, again, that special year, that's when the first official UFO sighting happened in the world, and it was up on the 47th parallel in Seattle. That's why Seattle's home of the Space Needle. But then it was just shortly after that it was the 47th state, New Mexico, where Roswell happened, also in 47. And a lot of people overlook this, but Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates, who both kind of look a little bit alien, like almost if you had the They Live glasses, you'd see through them. They both started their businesses in New Mexico and moved them up to Seattle. Technology does seem kind of alien sometimes. Again, the alien agenda thing is interesting, but this is the point I want to make. A huge hit movie from the past, cult following, They Live. It's about aliens taking over the world by 2025 until Roddy Piper has something to do about it. We need a Roddy Piper movement. But that movie, 2025 is the year of the aliens plan to take over. The reason that's interesting is because in Gematria, the word alien equals 41. And that movie's set in LA, and 2025 will be 41 years after the Summer Olympics were in LA, and they did the UFO tribute. If you guys haven't seen that, they had like a big prop UFO and a person in an alien costume. That was part of the ceremony of the 1984 Olympics in Los Angeles. So in light of aliens' connection to 41, it is interesting that it's 41 years after that in LA, in this hit movie about aliens in LA, They Live. It's funny how that works out. The other thing I always point out is the year 2041. The year 2041, I think, is whatever you're saying right now about where they're taking us to with this alien unveiling by the numbers. I think that's going to be 2041 that they are going to do something wild. And I have a very specific reason for why 2041. I just mentioned that alien equals 41. If you run the alphabetic order in reverse, the word alien equals 94, like Seattle, Washington, up where the Space Needle is. But from 1947, the sightings in Washington and what happened in Roswell from 1947 to 2041, that's 94 years later. So I think for all of us who live to see it, 2041, I think they are going to do something wild that year. We'll see.
No, but I think yeah, 2024. I feel like they definitely have certain things planned for the rest of this year, but 2025 is gonna we're gonna know a lot. We're gonna see a lot. That is the year they have everything planned. But quick question, Zach. I know you said there's no real evidence as to if this is true or not. But don't you think that some of these celebrities are playing similar roles? I mean,
Sure.
there's so many situations where I've seen there's so many celebrities that look alike. It's crazy the amount of celebrities that look alike. There's
Couldn't
a
it be because they're
picture,
related, though? Couldn't it be because they're relatives?
or maybe, I mean, Zach, this is Hollywood at the end of the day.
Exactly.
The
No, I
devil,
agree. I agree. They
the
gave us the
devil
movie Face
is
Off. Everyone's seen the Dave thing on Larry King after Michael Jackson died. It's like, did Michael Jackson really die? I see like it was Michael Jackson in a white guy mutilated suit. Dave. Um, so
yeah. I mean, the the devil is the master as a master at deception. I mean, there's so many movies that they show us where uh, 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 somebody is literally playing a whole different character. For example, white chicks. They literally turn those black guys into two blonde girls. I mean, yeah, it wasn't the best of prosthetics, but they're literally showing you that there's these public figures playing different roles. You know, um, but yeah, you don't think something is going on with that? I mean, I know there's not indefinite proof, but there's definitely something going on with these celebrities looking like each other. Now, you might be right; they might be related, but again, this is Hollywood. They're so great at prosthetics and CGI, and that we
yeah,
don't.
and again, here, just to make a point, I mean, it is nice to have more information to understand better, but the reason I don't really talk about things like that is because I don't see that what's the point of even speculating on it. Okay, if they're doing that, it's just more to the deception. The point is we're being deceived, we're being lied to, and who's doing it? And those are the questions I try to answer
Yep,
in every
yep.
presentation so people see what needs to be stopped. But yeah, just the whole thing they did with Jamie Foxx and the cloning movie and all the symbol. I'm sure you saw that. Did you see the Jamie Foxx movie? They cloned Tyrone.
I've heard of you talk about it, but to be honest, there's certain movies that I've heard you talk about that I had to go watch, like They Live. You don't want to introduce me to that movie. I had to go watch it, and there's definitely certain movies that when you recommend, I go watch just because of the symbolism behind it. But that movie with Tyrone, I have it on my list, but I just haven't got a chance to look at it yet.
It's powerful because you'll see, not to ruin the movie for you, but they eventually find the cloning underground center, and it's hidden
Oh, they're in the
beneath the
church, right?
church, right
They're under the
behind a
church, right?
button that's hidden by the letters IHS, the Jesuit acronym Susama Salvatore. It's like, this is crazy how they have this in the movie.
Yeah, but to the average person, I don't know, Zach, is just crazy. You said something the other day about how the alphabetical order, they always had us learn it in the actual order instead of just learning the alphabet.
Right.
That was very interesting because something as simple as that, people just don't grasp. Um, uh, we're really under a spell. People are really under a spell. Um, yeah, it's just interesting that I never knew that the alphabet, all of them had a numerical value. It's blatant almost. It's it's elementary. Like you constantly say. It's elementary.
It really is. I mean, imagine if we knew this. How many Americans today were, if they were aware this was a system and there was a code as simple as this, would be like, wow, so domestic violence was ruled on to take away people's Second Amendment right on the 173rd day of the year. And it is. It's as simple as ABC 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, but do you know what it also is? I mean, I feel like they almost did this whole thing on purpose because how, like, for example, Zach, when you go up to someone and you're explaining to them all these number synchronicity, it's very overwhelming, for
Keep
example,
it really
like
simple. When I talk to people in person, I always just keep it real simple, and I know people's limits. So, like, I might have like 3 super solid examples, and I won't even go beyond that. If they ask me questions about those, I might tell them a few more things. But it's like if I was telling people about this day,
no,
I would just stick.
you
You didn't get hit, did you?
No,
All right. I was like, maybe I'll talk to you when you're done driving. You got crazy drivers around you. You're in the city. Hey.
Yeah, I'm in the Masonic City.
For people who've never lived outside the city, I always grew up in the city too, but man, living outside of the city, the best thing about it is there's just no traffic. If you live out in the middle of nowhere, no traffic is a thing of beauty because, yeah, traffic can be stressful.
Yeah. But yeah, do you know what's also interesting, Zach? Sorry, I haven't had a chance to really speak to you. So I'm really just trying to take the opportunity right now. You know what's interesting? The Chiefs. It's really crazy how they have it scripted because right now they basically have it lined up as because let's not forget Patrick Mahomes is the main character. He is the main character. I just don't understand how people haven't really when I watch the NFL nowadays, it's almost like I'm watching a TV show.
Sure. Are you a
that's
Ravens
really what it
fan?
is.
Are you a Ravens fan by chance?
No, I'm not a Ravens fan. I'm not a fan of no
Good,
team.
good.
But
Just
I'm a fan of I do like how Patrick Mahomes do play. I have taken the Chiefs 2 years in a row now in the Super Bowl as an underdog. So the Chiefs have made me some money. So if there's any team I'm gonna support, it will be the Chiefs.
I see. I get that. Again, for people who don't know, the Chiefs just won the first ever Super Bowl on the Vatican's birthday. It was the 95th birthday of the Vatican, that special number. And, of course, they advanced over Baltimore in the AFC Championship to get there. Shout out to Roe in our community. He predicted back before the Super Bowl was even played that he saw that the opening day of next season was going to be 9-5. He was looking then, he's like, if Baltimore loses this game to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship, they'd be 5-8 versus Kansas City before Super Bowl 58. But they said if they ended up doing the rematch of these teams next year on September 5th, if Kansas City wins the next two, they'll be 9-5 versus Baltimore all time on the date 9-5. He was saying that months before the schedule came out, and now it is. Kansas City plays Baltimore on September 5th. They're 8-5 against them all time.
Wow.
If they win, they'll be 9-5 on 9-5.
Wow. Yeah, Zach, I just don't think that also do you know they can also become 4-1. Mahomes can become 4-1 against the team that's hosting the Super Bowl. I mean, this is just crazy.
Here, I'll tell you guys. I'm going to give it to you right now. Here's what happened. You're going to know if the Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl again this year to become the first ever team to three-peat. No team has ever three-peated in the NFL. The last pro athlete to three-peat was Kobe Bryant, who died at 41, just like Kobe Bryant equals 41 in Super Bowl, and Kobe Bean Bryant, 54, dead the Sunday before Super Bowl 54, before Mahomes won his first. But look at this. Here's how you'll know if the Chiefs are going to three-peat this year. And we said this last year, too. It was a similar thing with the Vikings. We said if they become 4-1 versus the Vikings, that's the sign they're going to win their fourth Super Bowl, just like they beat the Vikings for Super Bowl 4. Check this out. Look at the Chiefs' schedule this year and look at what they've done and what could happen. Again, last year, Mahomes got his 41st road win. Look at this. If you use numerology, Baltimore's 41, just like Super Bowl is. Last year, Mahomes got his 41st road win, beating Baltimore. And notice how if you run it in reverse with numerology, Baltimore's 58, like they fell to 5-8 versus the Chiefs. But Mahomes got his 41st road win, advancing to the Super Bowl. And again, he won his first Super Bowl connected to Kobe right after Kobe died at 41. But look at this. The Chiefs this year, They start against the Ravens on 9-5, like we said. Then they play Joe Burrow and the Bengals, the only guy who's beat Mahomes in a conference championship game, Joe Burrow in the Billy Cannon Bowl that year. Joe Burrow did his thing in New Orleans too, so that's another narrative. It's not the Chiefs, but notice the Chiefs' schedule: Ravens, Bengals, Falcons. It's funny because Atlanta, Georgia equals 59, and Andy Reid's on 58 losses. We'll see. But then he plays the new Harbaugh team who just came back to the NFL, who used to coach the Niners, who the Chiefs have been beating up. But then look at who they play for their 5th game. They played the Saints. So imagine that this year, the Chiefs' record is 4-1 by the time they leave that Saints game, the team hosting the Super Bowl. They will have done it 2 years in a row with an early game in the Chiefs' schedule that signaled symbolism with the Super Bowl number and a team. Because, again, last year they became 4-1 versus the Minnesota Vikings, who they beat in Super Bowl 4 for their first win. And then last year they got their 4th win as a franchise in Mahomes' 4th Super Bowl appearance. Mahomes would have a chance to become 4-1 in Super Bowls this year just for himself if he won. So for everybody to take advantage of the rigged NFL, if you do see the Chiefs become 4-1 versus the Saints, again, nothing's a lock, but that would be a very good narrative and a very good clue that that's exactly what they're doing again.
Hello?
You're here. Yeah, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Zach, but that didn't make sense though. I mean, it literally. This is why when you said the whole thing about the era of the black quarterback. I mean, it's just like last year, for example. You said the only way the 49ers win is if they had a black quarterback. So I just don't think it's just so blatant in front of my face. I mean, Mahomes is the main character, and it just makes sense. Like with especially with the Kobe connection. I mean, he will be the first black quarterback to 3P, and wouldn't he be also the first quarterback in general to 3P?
It's never, no team has ever 3-peated in the NFL. It'd be a total first. It'd be a new bar. And it would create the narrative that, oh, wow, maybe he really is better than Brady. And then that's what they need to keep people viewing. They're like, wow, this guy's surpassing Brady's greatness, not realizing that all they're watching is just one big giant script with the same numbers over and over. I mean, if you guys weren't here the year Tom Brady was 41 years old, we explained in that season why it was going to be Boston over LA in the World Series, 4-1 with Chris Sale, number 41 on the mound, months before the World Series even set, but why it was going to be 4-1 because it was 99 days from the Super Bowl in the 99th NFL season when New England's 99. But anyway, we had it all mapped out for why Boston would beat LA 4-1 in the World Series, and then Brady would win the Super Bowl with the same battle of the cities at age 41. 41's the 13th prime. LA's 41 and 13, like what happened to Kobe and his daughter. And again, there ended up being 13 points scored by the Patriots. The score was 13-3. 16 total points for Super Bowl 53 when 53 is the 16th prime. Again, we talk about 41 in Super Bowls and mega rituals in sports almost every single year. It's why we've hit so many futures, because we've learned these things and we know what to look for. So yeah, do watch if the Chiefs begin 4-1 versus the Saints this year. It's not in their building, but they are the team hosting. We'll see. And it'll also be the anniversary of the war in Israel, and Zionist is another one of those 41 words. That's a whole other subject, but go ahead, caller. Hello? Shoot, we might have lost him. I know he's driving, so his signal might have gone out. Jay, if you want to join, I'll drop the link in the chat. The link is there. Yeah, you're here. What's up, man?
Hey, yeah, so I run this TikTok page, right? And it's basically centered around history, right? And I uploaded a video yesterday around Kobe, and it's getting good traction. It's just the comments on that TikTok. It's just like people are just so lost. It's like, oh, this is bullshit. Oh, this is a funny conspiracy. Basically, what the TikTok was about was I don't know. Is there a way you can pull it up to see if I did a great job?
I'm not logged into TikTok on my computer. I almost don't use TikTok. I really need to, because that's where people get views these days.
Can't you watch it? Like, I'm pretty sure you can watch it without logging in. But anyways, I did like a it was like
you can't. Actually, you can't. That's why I hate TikTok. It's just so annoying. You have to
okay.
be logged in, and I can never remember my login. And
Yeah, I did a like a minute clip on Kobe and number 41, and again, it's still is getting great views right now. But what is just baffling is the comment section. I mean, people is just so lost. Like even just the basic connections. Like guys, like the dude, his last game, he left with 4.1 second on the clock, died at 41, and then the fucking
You pointed out that he scored 60, right? And the rest of his team scored 41, just like in his career high 81 game. The rest of his team scored 41. There's a lot of 41s in Kobe's career.
no, the only thing I connected was the shot clock, the day the age he died, the Lakers, the day the Lakers won the championship, which also equaled 41, and I also connected that like the same day was also Father and Daughter's Day. I think those like the
Yeah.
four, because it's like a minute long. There's so much information you can put in a minute clip, So, but yeah, I mean, I mean, there's some people in the comments that are kind of semi waking up, but just like people are
Well,
just
just when you put stuff on the internet, people are a lot more likely to be negative. Some people might have liked it and not even left a comment at all, so you don't know they watched it. Just focus on the positive and just think like, wow, this 1 minute video might have woken up who knows how many more people in the world. Doesn't matter. Even if it's one more person, that's great, but it's probably more than that. And yeah, just when you put out content, you just got to get used to negativity because sadly, that's how the internet is. People like to show their worst side when they can hide behind the computer screen.
yeah. I figured out a good format in terms of a hook as to how to grab them. Like I said, the Kobe video I posted yesterday was really the first video where I talked about numbers and connected, numbers and shit. But I have more ideas as to, because I feel like, especially on TikTok, I feel like if you talk about somebody that they gravitate towards, like Kobe is somebody people in the comments saying when he died, it's like a family member died. I'm like, dude, like how can you let a celebrity how can you talk about a celebrity like that? Like you don't even know Kobe. Like how can his death feel like
Because they spent so
your
much of
family
their
member?
life. They spent so much of their life watching and idolizing. And again, some people probably spent more time watching Kobe than they've spent their lifetime talking to their own family members.
Exactly. I'm not from this country, and coming into this country and seeing the shit that goes on in this country. I mean, dude, this country is so just fucked. I mean, there's so much weird shit that goes on in this country. Man, not trying to be woman, and women are dating, other women, and you know, motherfuckers are changing their gender. It's just like it's like almost like this country is literally hell.
It
Literally,
is. It
like
literally is. Yeah, it's hell on earth, and they've made it this way. Yeah, it's sick, man. And the thing that's scary is they lure people all over the world to come here because people hear the rumors about how great it is. Then a lot of people come here and find out it's actually not that great.
dude, and I feel like I'm kind of fortunate to live in DC because some of the shit you say about like some of the buildings here, like I drive around the city and I'm literally seeing like the Scottish Rite buildings and all the Roman architecture. I'm literally seeing it in front of my eyes, and it's just like wow, this shit is really in front of people, and they just almost admiring it. Like there's people like in DC, Zach, people, thousands of people come into the city every day to literally take pictures of all the Roman architecture. It's just beyond me when you understand the knowledge, and you just see everybody just be led astray,
Yeah, they don't realize the spell they're under.
Yeah.
They're just doing what they think they're supposed to do, what they've been told, what they've been programmed to do. And
When are you planning to come to
again,
DC?
what's that?
When are you planning on coming to the Masonic City?
I've been planning to come to DC for almost a decade now. That's how bad I've been about getting out to DC. I feel like the day I go there, I'm never going to want to leave. But
Yeah, I mean, I feel like out of all the cities that you went to, I feel like DC should have been the number one place. I mean, this is where Zach, I see it all, Zach. Like, I do Uber and stuff on the side, and the amount of just Jesuits and motherfuckers I pick up. I mean, so many politicians I pick up, and the amount of cars that I see in this city with the Masonic compass on their like the little tag people
Yeah,
be
yeah,
putting
you
in
can get
their
that in
cars and
Washington
shit.
State too. Yeah, you get on your license plate. You can get that in Washington State if you're a Mason.
Zach, the amount of picture, because literally every time I see them, I literally just take a picture. You know, the amount of pictures, the amount of cars that have the Masonic compass on their
I
car
believe it
is
in the
it
Masonic
is
City.
it
Yeah,
is
you're seeing it
crazy,
with your
Zach.
own eyes, just how
It is
dense it is
crazy.
there. Yeah.
It is
No,
crazy.
my greatest guilt. I don't think you've been following me for that long, but I was supposed to go out to DC so long ago, and then again, and I keep not making it there, and I really do have that regret. If I didn't have a sweet lady, I'd be out there. She's kind of my. I got to get out there, but it's just it's all the way on the other side of the country. It is some serious
I mean,
distance.
it might be tough now since you have a kid on the way, man. I mean, I can't imagine, like,
Well, or finally, she has friends that again, she came here as a refugee, so she has friends in the country that are also refugees that are closer to that area in the East Coast, and I'm hoping like eventually she's just gonna want to take a nice little vacation and spend some time with her friends out on the East, and I can take that time and do another road trip and definitely hit up DC because. Yeah, I'd love to speak out in DC and confront these people that that sometimes I call and leave a voicemail for. I want to see them in the flesh. So.
yeah. But anyway, going back to the initial thought about the 500 million. Um, like I said, I feel like
Um, and one of my one of my close friends, him and I, were determined not to take the jab. During COVID, we were still traveling and shit while everybody was stuck in their house, because of we had a hookup. Let's just say we had a hookup with the vaccine cards. I'm not gonna say too much,
No, I get it. I totally get it.
but anyways, me and my buddy, during COVID, we were traveling. You know what I'm saying? So, I just he he recently, because he's trying to be a doctor and shit, so he had to go back to school, and they made it mandatory for him to take the vaccine, so he had to submit. But and I feel bad because knowing what I know about what might come in the future, he's somebody I grew up with, so I kind of don't want to see anything happen to him, But going back to the 500 million thing, yeah, I think it's in place. I watched a video the other day from a quote unquote Freemason, and the video was about 5 hour long, and there was some great information in there. I actually uh, want to find a way to send you the video so you can watch it for yourself. Um, just a 5 hour long video of him just talking about the Georgia Guidestones. And I mean, what's interesting is that I watched that 5 hour video, and not once did he mention gematria. You know, um, he said certain things about numbers, but he exposed a lot of shit that I didn't know, like a lot of shit. Um, but not once did he mention gematria. Which is interesting. But even if he's exposing certain shit, he can't expose everything, I guess. But yeah, I don't know if you want me to send you that video.
Please. Yeah,
It
please.
is 5 hour long, so I don't know like
I'll
how
watch it in
long.
1.5 speed over the course of the week. I always have stuff playing in the background when I'm doing my work. So yeah, I'll listen to it.
Yeah, but yeah, yeah, he talked about the Georgia Guidestones, and he talked about the 500 million, and he was basically talking about how uh the Jesuits, as we know them, is basically a secret religion, and and he called it the one eye religion, and how us the masses are. Have you heard the term the vulgar and the profane?
Sure. The vulgar and the profane. Okay.
Yeah. So in the video, he mentioned that phrase a lot. He basically mentioned how uh, the elites basically look at us, the masses, as the vulgar and profane, which I guess initially means um, stupid and ignorant, which is based on the amount of people that you've interacted with your work. It made sense. Because a lot of people are stupid and ignorant.
Well, they
So
want to be.
so he talked a lot about but he never once mentioned, mind you, I watched the whole 5 hours just to see if he mentioned the Jesuits or you know uh uh you know anything about gematria or anything, but he didn't. He mentioned them as um just satanists, and they worship Lucifer, and their secret society is basically a one-eye religion. Um, and the other religion that exists is basically bullshit, basically. Um, and it's not about one thing I realized that when he was speaking about the Freemasons or the secret society he's in, he talked a lot about how it's not about race with them. You know, um, it's not obviously they target we obviously see that they target majority one specific race most of the time, but he mentions that it's about class with them. um they're just in an upper class than us, and anything, if you're not at that class, you're basically nothing to them. That's basically what his view was in terms of describing the secret society group that he's in.
I see. I see. In a way, with masonry, it's hard to say it's not about race because
It's
historically,
not though. It's not though, because if it was about race, wouldn't it just be all white people
well,
in
at one
in the cult?
at
It's
one
not
time,
about race.
I've lost my voice. At one time, it was. Yeah, that's why they had to create Prince Hall Freemasonry for black men. But not anymore. It's not that way anymore. But it used to be. Historically, there was racial lines with masonry.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, just the way he was saying it, like I said, he just mentioned how he talked a lot about a lot of celebrities that we know, and talked about, oh, this celebrity performed this ritual, and this, he talked a lot about Jay-Z, and but the whole time it was never about race to them. It's about class. It's like you're either in this class
Sure.
or you're not,
Right.
because the whole time, I mean, yes, we know that they attack majority black people because um there's obviously something special about black people that they feel as if um, they're threatened by, in a way. That's why they attack black people so much. Um, but with them, the way he was describing the secret society, um, it's class with them. It's not about race,
Sure.
because there's. So
Yeah.
anyways, I don't know how I can send you, again, it is 5 hours. I don't know how long the file is, but if you want me to, like,
Email it. Just send it to GematriaEffectNews@gmail.com. That'll make it to me.
okay,
Yeah. Thank you very much.
okay, no
All right.
problem.
You have a good day. Take
Yep.
care. Driving in the city. What's up, Jay? Jay, are you there? While we wait for Jay to come back, the last super chat. Thank you, Judgment War Productions. The master number 11. Explain it, man. There's so much to explain. I'll come back to that. What's up, Jay?
Hey, what's up? Is it? I was wondering, like, is it even like, is it wrong for me to, like, because y'all was talking about with the vaccine shit, and if they have something big that they're planning to do, if there's something that they're planning to activate or some shit like that, like, I don't know, sometimes, like, sometimes I'd be like, bro, like fuck this shit. Like, let's go ahead and get this shit on the roll. Like, is it wrong for me to think like that? Is it wrong for me to be like like I guess in a way excited for shit to pop off? Because it's just like I don't know. Like I just it's just like this really is like when you realize like when you just realize all this shit, like you really just realize how fucked all this shit is, and they package it in they package it in a way where it's like so like loving, like they like you know what I'm saying, and but you realize we really realize like what it is behind all this shit is just you realize like the only way out of this shit, but this shit if it's a fucking reset.
So it so it seems. Sorry, I'm losing my voice, but you know, I think. Hold on, Jay. I'm gonna get a drink of water and I'll come back.
Yeah,
Filibuster for me. I'll be back in 15 seconds.
yeah, no problem.
I'm channeling Robert F. Kennedy. Yeah, what I was going to say is obviously, you know, that I feel similar ways because I rant about these things, but I think it's better to not. I think ultimately it's not like it like really helps improve your mood, but I know exactly how you feel because I mean, I'm kind of the same way. And the only reason we feel this way is because it's like, I guess it's like a cynical point of view. It's like, well, fuck, man, we're so fucked, I guess. And I imagine it's similar for you. Like, you realize that humanity is largely responsible. Their ineptness, their ignorance, the way they act, the way they don't care. It's why we're here. And it's like, these people got it coming to them. I almost just want to see it happen because I'm
That's
sick
what
of
I'm
having to live
saying.
with their consequences.
And it's fucked up because it's like I know like all of my family and got this shit, but it's just like I it's like my life was literally put on hold because of these people, and it's just like nobody gets it. Like nobody understands that we are literally getting fucked over. Like, and it's like for me to be fucking like only 22 years old, bro. Like everybody's talking, oh, you got your whole life ahead of you, bro. I like my shit got fucking ruined. Like I'm just being honest. Like my life is like I'm not going into detail, but my life is ruined. Like
It's not ruined.
everything.
Hold on. It's not ruined. Okay. Trust me, it's not ruined. Because someday you're going to be my age and you're going to look back and you're going to realize how much your life has gone on. So you'll be like, I can't believe I used to be that age. Things can turn around, Jay, but I understand that you have been dealt a bad deck and you're having to deal with all this bullshit. But again, Jay, like really to improve your position in the world right now, just one day at a time, each day, just trying to make an incremental step towards a better life. I'm not trying to undermine what you're saying because I completely
I understand.
understand. But I'm saying I know that your life can get better from where it is right now, most certainly.
I understand what you're saying. It's just like it it just got to the point where it's like I literally have nothing to look forward to. It's like everything that I had planned, everything that I had, it just like the shit just got washed down the drain, and it's just like
That's not true, though. That's
oh
not true. Everything that get washed down the drain because you're still here. You still have your great mind, all your creative talents. You have all these dreams and things you want to do. You can still achieve those. Maybe not on the scale of like world famous Diddy type because we know how that is. You got to kill your whole family to get there. But still, as
yeah.
a intelligent, talented person who has a lot to offer, you can still like who knows 20 years from now. You're doing your thing. Your life is music. You're having fun. You're educating people. You're helping people out, diet, exercise. You're like, look at all the shit I overcame and look how good it got. It is hard to imagine. Maybe it doesn't turn out that way. Maybe we're all fucked and in 20 years we won't even be here because they unleashed whatever. We don't know. But instead of focusing on how it could go that way, which is possible, it's just like every day, Jay, when I get up, and it's been this way the whole time because even before I started teaching about this, I knew the world didn't give a shit, and it frustrates me, but I do it anyway. And every day when I get out of bed, I'm like, why the fuck am I even going to do this again today, man? All this does is really piss me off, and I just want to be happy with sweet lady, and I can just do that now. But I don't do that because I feel like I'd be giving up on what matters. And again, I have to convince myself though every day, like if I don't do this, then we absolutely 1,000,000% are fucked because there's not enough people trying to help out already, and I'm one of them. And just like you're one of them too, Jay. But it does. It's such a difficult path to be aware and have to deal with all the other shit you have to in life, and then deal with this too. That's why, Jay, you are younger. When I was your age, I had to stop focusing on the world for a minute and focus on my own life and just try to make myself happy enough. Because when I was around your age, I got to a really dark spot too, because it was after 9/11 and just being isolated and being made fun of, and it drove me nuts. And for a minute, I just had to say, you know what? I'm in my young 20s and my friends are having a lot of fun, and I need to just have a little bit of this for a little bit. And I did do that for a little bit. But then eventually what happened is I said, now I feel bad that I'm not doing the other stuff I was doing, was more like activism and knowledge and trying to make a difference. So I eventually gravitated back to that. But I'm just saying, you wouldn't be some sellout to humanity if you just shut everything off for a while and really focused on you and incremental steps to get to a better place. Because that might all have to be part of the journey to eventually accomplish. Let's just assume let's assume it's the slow kill plan that they have, and you and I are going to be here in 20 some years. You could really figure out a way to be in a lot better spot that seems unimaginable today than you are right now. And keep that in mind and work towards that.
Yeah, I understand. Like I said, I've tried to have fun too. It's like it was like, like an example where it's like I was at work the other day, and my boss was like, "Hey, like like I'm gonna get you guys some lunch. How does Chick-fil-A sound and shit like that?" And then I'm like, nah, it's cool. I got my own lunch. And then, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just that awkward fucking silence where everybody's like, oh yeah, like, okay, like, oh, you don't want Chick-fil-A, blah, blah. And it's like, I'm not on the same level. Like, it's just like when I realize certain shit and I just can't go for certain shit. And it's just like, I don't even want to push certain shit in my body no more. And it's just like, that stuff like that, it makes it harder for people to relate to me. It makes it harder for me to relate to other people. And it's like,
it's all part of your story and your character,
yeah,
though, Jay. It's going to go somewhere. And when I was your age, I was eating different from everybody, too, and getting treated like a weirdo. Everyone was making fun of my diet. I had those same type of moments happen all the time. Don't let that stuff ruin your day. It's the irony.
It didn't ruin my day. It was just a reminder that
you're an outcast in Atlanta.
You know what I'm saying? It's like
the biggest hip hop act from Atlanta's Outcast, and Jay is the real outcast in Atlanta, the young, talented hip hop artist.
Literally, bro.
Outcast because he just won't sell out to society. Jay, I'm telling you, there's an irony to it, and someday, again, nothing's a guarantee, but if you work towards your dreams, they're a lot more likely, especially if you never give up on them. They're a lot more likely to happen. And again, Jay, at the end of the day, just remember, yeah, you have all these very shitty things that are out of your control that have happened to you, but it's made you who you are, and you are a very intelligent and talented person. And even if you're not getting the validation from the world that you deserve, which is a lot of talented people, don't quit, because there can be a big breakthrough at some point. The world needs you to break through, Jay, because like I've always said that somebody smart, younger, more interesting, a real entertainer, someone with musical talent, they'll find this work and take it to the level that could easily be you. It hasn't happened yet. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen. So I know your story, Jay, and I always sympathize with you. And I see how you vent to the world, just like I vent to the world. And I always feel bad. Realize too, man, it is painful to see your story, Jay. All of us want to see you do better. It's just try to be, it's hard. And I have to tell myself the same thing, but do try to be more positive. And like I said, really focus on you right now and trying to dig yourself out of these problems that life's given you. You can do it. You have the mind to do it.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, for people who don't know Jay, check out his work. And now his channel just got all messed up again. Jay's a
I
young
can
man.
upload on my fourth channel now.
It's crazy how they take down even. I hate how YouTube censors young people. It's like
they hit me with a fucking email saying that they're not gonna they were like, oh, because we're trying to make sure our all that bullshit about it being a safe space. Now they like remove like benefits from my channel to where it's like now they're not even gonna allow my videos to show up in suggestions. Like I'm completely shadow banned. They're messing around with the likes, they're messing around with the comments, they're messing around with subscribers, they're unsubscribing people. It's just a whole bunch of bullshit. I can upload on my fourth channel again, but now I'm just like, well, maybe I really should have just started over, because they're gonna keep making it harder and harder for me to grow on this one. So I'm thinking like maybe I should just fucking start over, but I don't
Well,
fucking
what
know.
I've noticed, Jay, since you have other channels that are still barely hanging in there, it is good to occasionally upload some of those channels, because I've noticed in the past when I have a channel that I just leave alone because it was on 2 strikes and the verge of deletion, I didn't want to lose everything in, they eventually end up deleting the channel as time goes on. And it's easier for them to do that because there's no activity on that channel and people kind of forgot about it. So yeah, you might want to build up another channel, but every now and then just put something else out on that older channel that you don't use as
Yeah.
much.
Like I'm gonna still upload because that's where I have like the most like viewers and shit at. But now I'm thinking like maybe should I have started over? But I mean I'm obviously still gonna like keep it as backup. But it's just YouTube just it's fucking it's destroyed my shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Fucking bullshit.
Don't like people who have a vision or a message that goes counter to the mainstream narrative. And
It
your
just
message was
annoys
very
me. Like
counter.
I see how frustrated you get when we see all these people putting out like false information, like even within like the conscious, it's just even within a conscious like community, it's so many people putting out like false conscious information. It's just
And
like
getting a
where do
lot
these
of
people get the
attention for it.
information from? Like
Getting a lot of attention.
what the
Yeah.
only few people that actually put out actual information, like that's not like adulterated or like we're not making shit up. Like it just
Exactly.
doesn't
We use
make any
facts and
sense.
evidence over here. We have a sound theory that's been backing itself up with time, and people don't care about that. People are more in the realm of belief. They're more into beliefs than facts and knowledge. And
Literally.
beliefs and entertainment, man. That's what's occupying the minds of everybody. And I don't know. It's weird. Those of us who
It's
aren't that way are
completely
the
irrational.
outcasts in society. So
Yeah, it's just completely irrational. Like it's just crazy to me. It's just crazy.
but it's not your fault, Jay. And again, it's like they say, all things that are worth it, they don't come easy. And nothing's coming easy to you. Life's making it extra hard. But really, if life is a test, it's giving you the ultimate test. And if you can pass the test, if there's some form of justice, you got to think that eventually the things you're trying to do in life, be intelligent, teach people, get people on all kinds of better levels, from diet to what we're thinking about. Your mind's on all the right things, but it's on really tough things from a young age. It's like you came onto this even younger than I. That's the hard thing about finding out about stuff when you're young, because then you
Yeah.
just get so alienated from your peers and it's super lonely. So Jay, seriously, I think it was good for me to essentially sell out, if you will, for a period of time and just like pretend like I didn't know about anything and fit in with my peers and have fun and go out and do all that stuff. I think that was a needed break for me in my life, and it allowed me to come back to where I needed to be and eventually get back on the right path again. But yeah, just do your happiness, Jay. I can tell that your happiness has really been, you've gotten a lot of punches in your happiness category for you as a person. You got to do something that and it's hard right now because, again, in a way you have to like tune out some things, but there are still things I know in the world that probably make you a little bit more happy. Make sure they're not bad habits, but they just give you some kind of pleasure. Because yeah, Jay, you gotta have everything going to get back to your optimal spot. I know right now I've heard you say it's hard for you to get like as motivated because of all the shit that's happened, but find the place where your motivation comes back, because you are a very talented person, Jay, and you are a very intelligent person. You have something that's so obvious that the world needs. So don't ever give up on yourself because the world's so shitty.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying. I try, like I said, I try to have fun. It's like it pissed me off because it was like it would seem like when I did like try to say like like okay, let me just forget about this and go have fun. It's like something would happen, like where I got sick again or another health issue popped up. It would, or like I would have to move. Like it's like something would always happen to where like I kind of got like forced back like into like what I'm saying. Like I don't know how to explain it, but it just something would happen to where I got forced back into I guess essentially being by myself, and I'm just like, okay, maybe I'm meant to just focus on this or focus on that or focus on my business or like what I'm saying, what I'm trying to do. But it just I don't know, man. It just like I said, it get I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but it just it's just like when I see YouTube fucking with my channel and I see like certain shit, it just started fucking with me. Like I just be trying to figure out like what is the point to to so much of this shit. Because a lot of times it just be seeming like it's no point, but I obviously don't like to think like that, but it just I struggle to realize the point in so much shit because of the way certain things just play out. It makes it seem like there wasn't even a point to it all.
Well, the point is everything that you see that's wrong, that's happening to you, that shouldn't be like that's the way I might look at it if I was you. I might be like, you know what? There's going to be other people in this world that are going to come up in my situation. It might even be worse. I want to get myself to a position where I get myself out of this mess and I help people get out of that mess too. Because I know based
Yeah,
on who you
exactly.
are, someone who likes to teach and help people, that'd be really fulfilling to you. Again, you are having to persevere.
I just want to
And
show
again,
people how much they've been lied to. Like that's it. Just when I started researching so much shit, it just seeing how much bullshit was out there on the internet that people believe. It just awakened something in me. It's just like there's so much shit we've been lied to about health, about nutrition, about everything possible, everything imaginable. So many people, they just think, oh man, no, they just appeal to authority. They don't understand that even the authority doesn't know what they're talking about because they're the victims of the same shit we are. The doctor, everybody's a victim of this mass brainwashing for the certain groups of people to stay at the top and just keep profiting off of people's. It's disgusting.
it is. Yeah, no, I mean, the Bill rollovers are disgusting people.
It's
They're
like
making us sick
we need to
and
change
living
the
off of
world
our
with that
system.
shit.
No, I totally get it, Jay, and that's why the world needs you because not enough people see that. And because you're young right now, imagine you persevere and you get to a better place and it's 20 years from now. Everything that you have right now is going to be times 10. You're going to be better at everything times 10. You're going to know 10 times more stuff. You'll be a super important person in this world, Jay. And again, just keep that kind of focus. YouTube is horrible with the censorship right now. And because they're killing your views and censoring you and pissing you off, it might be better to put your creative energy into going back to writing and working on another idea for an album and getting your message out artistically because we know when you
I'm
put
still doing that.
yeah, don't stop doing that because when you put your music up in a creative way, YouTube doesn't really censor that. They let it come across if you put it out in a musical way for the most part, rather than if you speak it. They don't value the spoken word as much as they do the music. So
I got like a comic I'm working on too, so that's like a really big thing.
perfect. Yeah, exactly. Keep working at your artistic side and getting your message out until you find out what hits. Imagine if you work your ass off until you're my age. I'm almost 41 now. If you keep working your ass off to get something out that makes what you want to see happen in the world, I bet you're going to do it a lot faster than me and well before you are my age. But I'm saying by the time you're my age, you might have a whole bunch of things in the world that have had a big impact. It's just some things might disappoint you. Maybe like, why didn't people respond to that? But you realize also what ways maybe not to do it because YouTube has targeted you as a dissident. You're against the government, so you're buried in the algorithm. Maybe for your music, just have an exclusive channel that's just all straight music, and you put it out for people who are listening. Like you don't even really put specific words down that they can censor you for. It's just all in the music. Again, just Jay, you'll figure out because you're trying to do things. You're having to deal with the censorship. In time, you'll figure out how to overcome your problems. You have skills that a lot of people don't have. So you can make it happen. You just got to keep working towards it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. But it's true too, Jay. And that's why you're mad too, because you're like me. You see people in the world putting out mediocre ass bullshit and getting all this success and notoriety, and you're like, why not
And I
me?
know my shit is better than theirs, like way better, like way more research, way more detailed.
Exactly.
Shit drives you insane.
But don't let it drive you insane. Just recognize that's the times. You were like, that's where the phrase comes from. In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. You realize almost everyone is blind. You have a vision. And again, you're like, if things are ever going to change about this world, there's going to be certain people who are going to make things change. You very well could be one of those people. So again, that's why I realized, Jay, I model a lot of bad behavior because I'm so frustrated. And sometimes I think it's rubbing off on you too, and then you're being more negative than you need to be.
Yeah.
But
I've just always been prone to wrath, like when we had that talk about which sin, like wrath has always been my biggest sin. Like I've always had anger issues, put holes in people's walls, like motherfuckers put me out, and like I've always had trouble with my anger, so I've always been prone to like letting shit affect me, and I've always been prone to the darkness, if you will. So it's like I really try not to like let myself like go back into that like abyss or let myself go down that path, because I've always been prone to wrath. Like I've never really struggled with anything else as much as I've struggled with my anger. So it's like it's just I've always I try, like, even when I make videos, I try not to get frustrated, I try not to get riled up. But it just always ends up happening, and it's like I always tell myself, okay, I'm gonna be calm, I'm gonna I'm gonna be low key, but it's like it just don't be in me, because it's just like the shit that's going on is just so ridiculous. It just keeps me from being able to stay cool headed, like, and I don't like that. I don't like that about I don't like how much of a hothead I am. I really wish like I wasn't like this, because it's put me in pretty dangerous situations that were my life, what I'm saying, potentially could have would have definitely changed for the worse, like, what I'm saying. And I can't, like, it it just, I have to, like, I really try to like keep myself from going back down that path. But yeah, it's just because I've always been prone to that type of shit, like ever since I was a kid, like.
Sure, and it's not by accident. I mean, I have obviously anger issues too, and I grew up in an angry household, as I often talk about. Almost all of us who have anger issues, it's because of the stresses of this world. A lot of them unnecessary in how we came up. And Jay, what I can say to you as a young person is, if there's really something that you want to change in your life, you have to really work hard to change that about your life. Because like, since that time I was your age up until now, I've wanted a better relationship with my mom. My mom really provokes my anger. Like, the only person who really, really gets me hot and angry in this world is my mom. She's the only one who can do it, because it's always seemed like she wanted to trigger it. But I've always wanted to stop myself and not allow her to do that. And even now, almost 41, I still find that I cannot do it, because I have not put in enough work to stop. And sometimes you just have to get yourself away from the things that that make you angry. And that's why a lot of times I won't pick up the phone if my mom's calling, because I just don't want to ruin my day and get in some argument. And again, if you know that there's certain things that are triggering your anger, and those are controllable in your environment, as in keeping them out so you're not getting triggered by them. And also, like, when life's being hard on you and then YouTube's pissing you off all the more, maybe just take a break from YouTube at that time, because you don't even want to get yourself in a bad spot. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we're all human, and we all have the same type of emotional thing. And if we're all raised a certain way, like, had you come up in a different environment, you could be a slightly different person without the anger issue. So, I mean, don't blame yourself. All of us do have a fault in everything, but we're also products of our environment. And there's a reason a lot of us have the flaws that we do, that we would like to change about ourselves, but easier said than done.
Yeah. Yeah, it just shows why we also need, the right people in our ear to keep us on track. So
Sometimes you got to keep yourself on track, and you have to be real accountable to yourself. So
yeah,
but yeah,
yeah,
Jay,
that's true.
again, I got to wrap this up in about 10 minutes. You're welcome to stay on here for the rest of the 10. It's just, there's people in the world that care about you. Jay, you really are a talented, brilliant person, and you see yourself. You're talking right now openly about like things that you want to fix. All those things are good to have awareness. I mean, you know what you want to change in your life. You just got to work at it to make the changes happen, and you got to be patient sometimes. But again, before you know it, in a way, Jay, it's like I feel like I was just your age the other day, and now I'm pretty much double your age. Time can fly by too, and before you know it, it can be 20 years from now, and you can be looking back and thinking about all the hurdles you overcame, and you're glad you stuck with it. And you might realize it just had to be that way to get where you are now, which is now this place of happiness and fulfillment. So,
Yeah, I want to take up any more of your time. That was really all I want to talk about. Somebody else is asking to jump back in, so I'll let them get
I
back
gotta
in.
hop. I
So,
gotta hop off. Then I was only gonna. Really gotta get off now. But I didn't want to rush you off, because I do want to talk to you,
you good.
Jay, and I want to see you succeed. And I know, again, we're born at the, especially you, man. I felt bad because, God, I feel like both of us should have been born in a different era. But been born in
Yeah,
a really tough era, and you have the eyes to see it. but that's not your fault. You're because you see it, and if you can overcome and persevere, you're the type of person that can be the solution. So, again, Jay, endless support for you. You got my number. If you need anything, hit me up. And sometimes if I'm not responding to my phone, it's because I'm not looking at it. Just bug me. Send 5 more text messages. Call me.
I understand.
I'm here.
Yeah, appreciate it. It was
All right, Jay.
thank you for talking to me. So
Yeah. You have a good day, man.
All
Take
right, you
care.
too.
All right. Shout out to Jay with Open Eyes. Now Channel 4, because they got rid of his other 3 channels pretty much. And if you guys don't know Jay, he's got all kinds of really intelligent ideas about the world, and he's really become focused on nutrition because of his own health battle. And he had something happen in his upbringing that wasn't fair to him that compromised his essentially his immune system. And he's trying to figure out how to overcome that, which is challenging. But perseverance. Again, I don't have any tattoos, but if I ever got a tattoo, which I don't intend to do, it would just be the word perseverance somewhere on my body. Probably only when you can see, probably my shoulder blade or something, but I don't have anything. But I learned that word when I was a young age, and I realized that was the word that was going to have to be me. Jay got a lot worse deck than I got. I didn't get the best deck either. The deck you get in life can make all the difference, but perseverance, you can overcome hurdles. You can improve your position. And if you guys don't know Jay, he's very open. I almost should have brought this up while he's on here, but he'll openly say, honestly, like, I'm so dark right now, I just wish I was dead. He'll say that every now in his videos, and it hurts all of us that watch it, but we feel it, and a lot of us have been that way. And when I was his age, I used to always think about, man, it'd be just easier to be dead than live in this fucking world. I used to always have that thought, but I never was really seriously suicidal. I also don't think Jay is ever really seriously suicidal. I think he's just venting about his frustration with the world. And again, I mean, a lot of us have been there, but yeah, just, I haven't been able to anywhere near accomplish all my goals in life, but for everything I ever have achieved, it's because I worked my ass off to get there. And I just put my nose to the grindstone. I said, okay, this might seem impossible right now, but I'm just going to keep pushing until it does happen. Here, one more gentleman did hop back on. Just real quick, I got 2 minutes, friend. Not to rush you off either, but I got 2 minutes, and then I got to get out of here. What's up?
So Zach, going back to the last caller, about him basically feeling like, what's the point of all of this? Yeah, you have to, yeah. I feel like you give him a great message in terms of, following his goals. But I mean, you know, he's kind of right because we're fucked. Even the only advice I would give somebody is either get a passport, or if you like wine, get a bottle of wine, or if you like popcorn, get a popcorn and sit back and really enjoy the show. It's either those two: get a passport to be ready to go at any time possible, or really just get your favorite your favorite dopamine essential and sit back and enjoy the show, because we're fucked, Zach.
Okay, hold on. I got to give a rebuttal.
They're lying to
lot
us
of
about
people
everything, Zach. They're lying
hold
to us
on,
about
hold on. I gotta give another option for what you can do, and this might not be the right option because this is the option that I do, and it's the thing that what I do, you guys. I do this every day because I feel like there's an obligation. Like I said, we're late. We're late in the game. We're down a bunch of points, but the whistle hasn't blown, so there's still a chance. This is my mentality. Like, I'm not going out like a punk. I'm not walking off the field, getting blown out by 50 points, and I didn't even try. I'm at least going out like I tried to come back and win the damn game, and maybe there still is a chance. It could be the greatest miracle, the untold story that hasn't happened yet. But I hear what you're saying, but I really do think that rather than just like grab the bottle and chill out on the TV and watch your favorite movie or play your video game or whatever, I really feel like if everybody, instead of saying like we are fucked, it does look like we're fucked. I got to admit, when you look at the signs, it looks pretty damn bad. But God, I swear to God, if everybody who does see what's wrong, like you and Jay and myself and everyone in the chat and people on other similar YouTube channels and streams, if we all figured out somehow to organize a network and do a day of showing like where you are right now, everyone shows up and we're like, we're not going home until we get all these answers questions. We're all united here on this. Why are we paying so much in taxes? We don't want to pay this much. What this is. There's things that are messing up everybody's life right now. People don't even realize how much poorer they are because of how much taxes are pulled out of check. A lot of people don't even think about that. How expensive they've made everything because of decisions in recent years. People like me have been saying what they were going to do before it happened. I told you the crazy inflation was coming the moment they said they were going to start printing out checks.
Hey, Zach, quick question.
But hold on,
Quick question.
but real quick, just again, we need to come up with an idea of things that everyone cares about and can agree to, and show up and really get some answers and get something on the map. If we fail after that, then yeah, maybe we're totally fucked. But there needs to be one great action by society, which has never happened. It's just never happened that even people came together and tried to do some grassroots effort and make a real big spark on a day to say, this is our list of demands. We want these things fixed right now. This is no way of life, and in the direction of this society is unacceptable. Again, this is the kind of thing that I have. Like somehow, some way, this is going to come together someday, and it is going to make a change. So I have a vision of how, and maybe it is a pipe dream, and maybe it'll never happen, but that's how my mind works. I keep an idea of like something that could happen to Chris Park. Okay, you can close this out, and then I got to get out of here.
Zach, two things, and then we can be done. Number one is, Zach, you gotta understand that the world we live in, these motherfuckers are so gullible, Zach. Like, like the world we live in, people are so gullible, Zach. They're lying to us about everything. I think they're lying to us about everything, Zach. Like
They pretty much are.
everything.
They
And
pretty much are.
it is not, and I hate when people come on here and they're like, oh, they're lying to us about this, but they can't be lying to us about this because this backs it up. And no, guys, they're lying to us about everything. And once this alien invasion happens, trust me, you're gonna see, because their goal has always been about the one world government, guys. It's always been about the one world government. And once they make this fake ass alien invasion, because all they want is for the world to give in, and they want the whole world to want the government to come and protect them. So once they do this alien invasion, Zach, it is all over. They're gonna take full control. They're gonna have full power, and it's gonna be all over. So it's like I said, you either get a passport so you can be on multiple grids, or you just sit back, like I said, grab a bottle of wine, grab some weed, or grab a box of popcorn and sit back and enjoy the show, because it's gonna get real very, very soon. But before we close it out, Zach, does your state do they celebrate Pride Month over there?
Well, I think they celebrate Pride Month, and even little small towns are celebrating Pride Month now all over the place. I think that's going
Zach,
on
it
all
is
over the
bad.
nation.
It is bad in the Masonic city, Zach. It is
It's
bad
bad
in
everywhere, man. You go into any
it's
city, it's bad. They got all rainbow crosswalks
like
for the month and
we're
everything.
literally in hell. We are literally in hell. Like the Antichrist is here, Zach. Like we are literally in the final days,
It's
and
bad, man. It's bad.
Jay,
Listen, I hear everything you're saying. If that's the way you want to handle everything, I respect it. You'll have a lot more probably happy existence than I will in the remaining days. But for me, it's like I just can't quit fighting because that's what my spirit is. I got to hop off, man, though. I appreciate you giving a counterpoint and sharing your perspective, and be
hold on.
safe out on
One
the road.
last thing. One last thing. Zach, do you think that they don't want us to come back after death? Because it's deeper than this, and people don't understand. Because
I
I
agree.
really
I agree. I know where you're going with this. It's too deep of a conversation, but yeah, I do think they purposely try to corrupt our souls and spirits from a young age with the influences they give us, and a lot of us might have already done it to ourselves without even realizing. Absolutely,
they don't want us to come back.
Or it could be that I don't exactly know how it works in the afterworld, but whatever the after is, I feel like they're ruining it for a lot of people with the things they're tricking them into doing while they're on Earth. Hey, we'll have another stream. Call back in. I like the way your mind works. Be safe out there, man. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, take care. Okay. And oh, shoot. I didn't mean to take that off the screen. Where did that comment go from Neo the Hacker? I'm going to find that comment again to put it back up here. If you guys don't know Neo the Hacker, he's a great guy, and he used to be a great contributor to this community. I said used to. He really still is. He leaves great comments. But I want to respond to what you just said. I agree that being realistic can be better than being optimistic. I've said that same phrase out of my own mouth, probably on my videos countless times. That said, your analogy that you posted a few minutes ago about how we're really late in the fourth quarter and there's only seconds left and we're down way too many points to even have a chance to come back. That's what you said. That could be true or it could not be true. I don't know that it's true, okay? That's what I'm saying. I don't know for sure that it's true, and I don't think you really know for sure that it's true, but obviously you think that it's more likely the truth, and you could be right. Listen, maybe I listened to House of Pain. I ain't going out like no punk bitch too much in the 90s when it was on the radio all the time, but somewhere that plays in my head every day too. I will not go out not fighting. That's where I am. And you know what, Neo? Don't take this too harshly because I do respect you and like you a lot. But part of the reason we're down even more right now is because for the last year or however long it's been more than a year probably now, you haven't been helping us out. You were a great contributor to this community. So we're down even more. Whatever we're down right now, we're down even more because you stopped helping us out. You went to the bench and said, I'm done. I'm saving my ACL for next season. Is there going to be a next season? I'm going to die on the court. So anyway, I'm not saying you're wrong either, Neo, but I'm just saying that is the way it is. So you think about that too. The world needs Neo, the hacker, to help get the word out. And yeah, the score probably wouldn't be much different, but it's worse. It's worse. It was helpful when you were here. Okay. Shout out to Brandon Brown. Brandon Brown, you gave $50 the other day, and I did get half to Trey. Shout out to Trey. Trey said thank you. You know what? I'm just going to send it all to Jay. Today I'm going to give it all to Jay. I don't need any of it. Brandon Brown, in the future, though, do me a favor. When you send this big of an amount of money, if you have my Cash App, it's a lot better way to send it just because it's super generous. I'm not trying to complain. It's just when you send 50 on YouTube, they take 30%. So they take $15, right? So YouTube's taking $15 of that. I'll still send Jay all 50, but had you sent me a 50 on Cash App, I could just send them the whole 50 and then YouTube's not making any money. So thank you anyway. And Jay, look for a Cash App. And again, thank you to everyone who hits the like and the share and who does support the work. Thank you to everyone who pledges $1 a month. We've been able to do a few nice things for people in the community in our time, largely thanks to your generosity. And I got to go run a few errands. It's getting late. I went past time. Shoot. All right, True Seeker. Have a good day. And I'm sure we'll be back sooner than later, probably tomorrow. Till next time.